want it.
Welcome to the 2026 Litecoin Foundation. I want to check with everyone here to see if you can understand the English that's coming out of my mouth, because I am from the United States, in the southern part of the United States, where half the people there cannot understand what I'm saying. Can y'all understand what I'm saying? Do we know this word, y'all? We do. We know the word y'all because it will come out of my mouth a lot, and I'm not able to fight against it. So I need y'all to understand that it means you, all, y'all. Say it with me in your dialect. Y'all. No? Okay, first of all, y'all need to understand, I'm Marty Simpson. They paid me to host this 2 years ago in Nashville because apparently blockchain speakers are not the liveliest of speakers. And so I'm a comedian who knows very little about cryptocurrency or about Amsterdam or about things outside of a 5-mile radius of my house. And they paid me to make fun of you all after y'all are boring when they speak up here. And so if I'm a little mean or a little condescending to the people, that's what they've paid me to do. Is everybody able to understand what I'm saying? Okay, because y'all are not reacting the way I was hoping you would react. It's okay, this person is. This is a person that understands what I'm saying. This is good. So I've been in Amsterdam for 2 days. I've never been in Europe before. It's been very exciting. Everything is very hard for me to say. There's like 15 more letters in every word than I'm used to being there. There's all these extra letters and extra like sounds. But Pepine told me in the audio booth that Dutch kids or kids from Holland learn the sound in school because it's right there in the word. Is that right? Am I saying that right? School? No? No? How do we say it? School? School? So there's no, I don't know where you grew up, but Pepine grew up in a different place, apparently. But so if you understand, 2 years ago, I knew nothing about cryptocurrency at all. I was scared of it. I thought it was like Super Mario coins that you would get in a video game. Didn't want to invest in it, was terrified. Then I sat through 2 days in Nashville of experts talking about it, and I started to understand what was going on. Met Charlie, met other people like David, and really bought in. And so year 2, they brought me back to Las Vegas, and I was all in. I feel like cryptocurrency is the future. And when David asked me to host year 3 in a row of this conference, I said, you know what? I'll do it. But you have to pay my deposit in Litecoin now at the Las Vegas conference to secure the date 12 months from now in Amsterdam, and I'll be willing to do it. And he did. And so I'm only down 76% on that initial investment, but at least I understand the crypto part of it now. See, this is the energy we're going for, a little bit better. Pick it. Live stream, everyone here is laughing. Hundreds of people are laughing if you're in the live stream. You guys are great. You guys are awesome. See, comedians sometimes will say something that will make a crowd clap for them when they don't know what they're going to say next. They'll say something like, give it up for the troops. In America, we would say, give it up for the troops, like the military. And in America, everybody would clap for the military, of course, you know. And so I don't know what you would say in Amsterdam to get a crowd to clap. Give it up for beer. I don't know what it would be. Give it up for the red light district. I'm not sure. Okay, that works. So I don't like to do that. That's like pandering to smart people, and they know that you're just doing that because you've lost your way. But I have like a little nervous tick that I say sometimes is I say, you guys are great. You guys are awesome. And then people will clap for themselves, of course. Because like, he's right. We are great. We are awesome. But I will not have meant it any of those times. You guys are really average as a crowd right now. It's early in the morning. You're not sure what's going on. This whole thing, you're not sure. But so I like to tell a crowd up front that I'll be lying about that, just to make sure you can trust me for the whole day, because I'm kind of the face of this thing, because they wanted to pay somebody else to fall on their sword because they didn't want to do it. So that's my job. I'm here with you. We're stuck together. So here's the thing that I did discover recently, though. The economy. I'm not an economist. I'm not a cryptocurrency expert, but I do feel like I've solved the economic crisis in America and here. I think that, I don't know if in Amsterdam this is going to be a joke that'll land, but in the Netherlands, do you have a thing that you say as a child when you say the same thing as another person? In America, we say jinx. Do y'all have jinx? You know this term? Do y'all have that? And then the other person says, jinx, you owe me a soda or a Coke, right? That's like the thing. So in the 70s in America, I would say, jinx, you owe me a Coke to my brother. And then my daughter was 6 years old, 40 years later, said to my son, jinx, you owe me a Coke. So this is the economy that we should base everything on, the jinx market. Because I'm not an economist, but that's a zero rate of inflation over 40 years. Because my son should have said, jinx, you owe me an iPad. Right? If we adjusted that jinx for inflation. Just saying, that's what the whole world economy needs to base themselves on, is the jinx market. And I think I could run for office in America on that jinx market. You're getting it. You guys are great. You guys are. This guy's filming right here saying, like, I don't know what's happening at the Litecoin Summit right now, but this guy is speaking. But what's going to be funny is the ratio of how much you like me right now compared to how much you'll like me by the end of this is going to be surprising to you. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get this thing kicked off. So now I've got you all warmed up and lively. I feel like y'all have peaked at the energy point, the highest you're going to be. And we're going to move this thing right along and stay on time. But I'm very excited to be here. Litecoin people are some of my favorite people in the world. And don't stress for me that people weren't laughing, because I've already been paid to be here. So it's cool. I actually haven't been, so pray for me and my wife. They need to pay me. Y'all need to make sure they pay me. I'm down 76%. So later, we're going to show the Nexus wallet, and then we'll teach you the MWeb technologies. And I'm going to put my Nexus wallet address up there so you can actually send me Litecoin now to make up for the deficit from the 76% I'm down. And that will illustrate dollar cost averaging over the lifespan of my investments. And you're going to learn about that later today if you haven't. So that's a real thing. You guys are awesome. All right, so now we have this special thing going on here in Amsterdam. All week is the Dutch Blockchain Week going on. Y'all have heard of this? So this is a big deal, and we have the head of that's going to come on up here and kick it off, Jan Schliel, and Alan Austin from Litecoin. Come on up here, guys. So you're going to hear from them, and then I'll be back.
I think you did really well.
It's a good thing we haven't paid you yet either, because based on the performance. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome, and thank you to Blockchain Week and Jan for allowing the summit to be a part of this great week. Today actually marks a first for us. Since we started the Litecoin Summit back in 2018, the summit has never left the US until now. That's not by accident. Litecoin is global. Litecoin moves across borders, so I think it was only inevitable that eventually the summit would do that as well. We did pick Amsterdam on purpose. The city is not just hosting events, it's actually building real things, and that's very important to us. It's a very lively, real, crypto payments crypto usage community, and the types of things that are really important for us to be surrounded by: crypto adoption, usage, payments, merchant adoption, building, development, all those things that we want to be a part of is why we chose this great city, and we're really excited to be here. So again, great to be outside of the US for the first time. With that said, I hope everybody enjoys the next 2 days of talks, the people in this room, the ideas being shared, and don't forget also we have a mixer and a DJ party tonight where often some of the best talks also happen. So thank you very much. Jan, I'll let you take it over.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Also, thank you, Marty, for the very nice introduction. I think you are really doing well with your pronunciation. Usually I tell my US friends, like, act like you have a fishbone in your throat. Like, you know, and then it's will be very fine. Ladies and gentlemen, before I'm going to say a single word about Litecoin, I just want to let you know where you guys are actually sitting right now. Because in my perspective, Litecoin really didn't choose the city by accident. Because whether you realize it or not, you came to the source. Because I just walked here to this theater, and it's only a 10-minute walk from this place, where in the year 1600, a group of merchants did something that no one has ever done before. They cut the ownership of a company into pieces. They printed it on paper and let total strangers trade those pieces among themselves. It was the world's first share. It was also the world's first stock exchange. And it was the first time in the world that value moved hand to hand without a king, a priest, or a permission slip. Now, a few years later, that same city built the Bank of Amsterdam and taught the world how trustworthy money could actually feel like. And yes, a few years after that, Amsterdam gave us the tulip mania, the first speculative bubble in history. So yeah, Marty, if you ever watched a chart go vertical and vanish, relax. We did it first with flowers in the 1600s. But here is the most important part that most people forget. Because while Amsterdam was inventing modern money, it was also the one place in Europe where you could actually print the truth. Books banned everywhere else were printed here in Amsterdam. Spinoza fought freely here. Descartes came to this city to be left in peace. The presses of the city were the first original censorship-resistant network. Forbidden ideas copied and spread faster than any authority could actually stop them. Now, money and freedom invented at the same canals at the same time by the same stubborn people who simply refused to ask permission. And that is not a coincidence of this room. That is the entire point of this room. Because Litecoin is, in my perspective, exactly this idea. Written in code instead of ink. Money you can hold without asking, and value that you can send without permission. A network no king, no bank, and no border can quietly switch off. Silver to Bitcoin's gold, running without permission and running without missing a beat since 2011. We are even standing and sitting here in a building named after tobacco, a leaf that was actually money for a few years here in Amsterdam. From leaves to coins, to paper to code, Amsterdam has watched money change shape for 4 centuries in a row and is still standing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the co-organizer of the Dutch Blockchain Week, I really want to say a massive thank you to the Litecoin Foundation. Thank you so much for choosing Amsterdam, for bringing the summit into the heart of our week, and trusting this city with your first European edition. Your partnership makes our program so much richer, so much sharper, and also a great deal more interesting. You guys really have pulled some of the most brightest, boldest, most original people in the entire industry to these canals. And that is exactly the kind of company Amsterdam was built to keep. We're so proud to have you here with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome at the Litecoin Summit. Welcome at the Dutch Blockchain Week. And welcome to the city that started all of this. For the next 2 days, let's do what Amsterdam has always done best. Move value, protect freedom, and ask absolutely no one for permission. Thank you so much. Oh, and one more thing. If you're here for a few more days, during the Dutch Blockchain Week, we organize around 50 events. So this is actually the first one happening, really cool. But if you're interested in attending some more events, networking drinks, tomorrow morning we have Padel, everything else, please go to the Luma page of Dutch Blockchain Week, and here you can find all the events where you can sign up for. Thanks so much. Wishing you a great day. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Jan, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Jan, this morning. That's awesome. I still don't think I can say his name correctly. I'm not sure exactly why it's so difficult for me. But now we get the honor and privilege. Can move this forward a couple. Pepin can move mine forward too. It's awesome. There we go. That's great. That was all part of it. We rehearsed it just like that. So when I came 2 years ago, and hadn't really heard of all of this stuff. I didn't even know the significance of this. And I met this man outside the lobby right before I had to introduce him. I didn't know exactly what a big deal he was because he's so humble and so sweet and nice. And but he's really kind of the forefather of everything we're doing here. And he's just a really impressive person to talk to and just an easygoing, easy to talk to, great guy. He's going to give us the state of the coin address. He's a computer scientist holding a BS and MS in computer science from MIT in the States. And he's best known as the creator of Litecoin and also serves on the board of directors at Litecoin Foundation. So please welcome Charlie Lee.
Thanks, Marty.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm just super glad to be here. This is actually not my first time in Amsterdam. I was in Amsterdam in 2014 for my first time here was for a Bitcoin conference actually. So 2014 is quite a while back. Anyone here actually was around in the crypto space in 2014? A few. So I guess let me paint a picture of what it was back then. In 2013, end of 2013, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. And the price was, if I remember correctly, $1,200. Okay, and that was actually quite a lot back then because it went basically from like a few hundred, like $30, a few hundred, all the way to $1,200. It was because of, a lot of it was because of China. People were hyping up Bitcoin back then and about like China accepting Bitcoin and everything. But then in December 2013, it hit 1,200, but that was the all-time high, right? It dropped down from there. And why? Because China released news about banning Bitcoin from their financial institutions. Like they banned all their banks from touching Bitcoin. And that was a huge shock to the system, and the price kind of just dropped from there. And then in February, there was a Mt. Gox hack. You guys heard of Mt. Gox? I'm sure everyone's heard of Mt. Gox, right? Has anyone actually used Mt. Gox here? No. One person. There's two. Two people in this whole space have used Mt. Gox. So Mt. Gox was crazy back then. It was like the biggest exchange. About 70-80% of all trades went through Mt. Gox. So Mt. Gox was like the dominating exchange back then. And then they got hacked. They lost pretty much all their Bitcoins, which was, what was it? Like 850,000 Bitcoins, right? Back then, it was worth about $400 million, but now it's like $50 billion. It's something ridiculous, right? So that's a huge shock. The price dropped pretty much from 1,200 all the way down to like 300, like overnight, almost overnight. It felt like overnight, but it was the whole everyone was scared. Nobody wanted to touch Bitcoin. A lot of people actually thought Bitcoin would die because the biggest exchange got hacked. Everyone lost their coins. At that time, I was at Coinbase, and we actually invited Andreas Antonopoulos to come to our office to do a proof of solvency check on our cold storage, right? Just to make sure that Coinbase had all our coins. You guys know Andreas Antonopoulos? He was pretty big in the space back then. So basically, we got like the most famous person in crypto back then to come to Coinbase to check our cold storage system to make sure all our coins are there. And he came and he did the checks. He basically asked us to show like to move coins around. And Coinbase back then also had a lot of coins. So that was kind of just to help like calm everyone. But then also a lot of things happened back then. Charlie Shrem got arrested for I think it was like money laundering. He was at BitInstant back then, and he did something with Silk Road. Huge news. I was joking with Charlie back then that there was only 2 Charlie in the space back then, and after he got arrested and left the space, I was the only one. So he thought it wasn't that funny. And then there were all these other hacks. Poloniex got hacked for like 12% of their reserves. But that was like in March and April time frame. And then the conference was in May. So it's kind of very similar to today, right? The crypto market's down. Everyone's kind of it's in the dumpsters. Everyone kind of don't know if it will come back. I thought it was actually a lot worse back then because it was like the first major crash. And yeah, and that was like kind of the background of when I came to Amsterdam back in May of 2014. The price was $400. And actually, John today asked me what the ticket price for a conference was. I thought it was like around $200. So it wasn't that bad, right? Ticket prices, like these days, the main Bitcoin conference ticket prices are $1,000. But the bad news was everyone paid in Bitcoin. So it was half a Bitcoin. So you can just imagine if I didn't go to that conference. Yeah, so I mean, I had a great time. Back then, the community was much smaller. So like pretty much everyone in the space came. I was at Coinbase. We sent like a dozen people to the conference. Yeah, and back then it was everyone was very pessimistic about the price. But as you all know, it came back, right? So I'm actually very optimistic about where we are today. I think it's pretty common I mean, I've been in this space for so long. Every 4 years or so, we have a down market, and everyone thinks that we're gonna die, everything's gonna go to zero, but we'll come back. So on that note, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Litecoin Summit. I think what we're trying to do is to reach the summit, right? So we had to get to the bottom to actually get back to the top. So thanks for everyone for coming here.
So there's hope. You heard it here. This is great. Again, you're going to have the opportunity to make me the testimony child of Litecoin as we go through the 2-day conference. You're going to be able to donate a little bit of Litecoin to me, and then we'll come back years from now and show my success story. They're going to fly me in a helicopter and a jet. I'm going to pay for the conference and sponsor everything from the Litecoin y'all donated to me here at the conference. All right, so now I had breakfast with this guy, and he's got a cool talk planned for you about quantum secure web. Dave Burkett is the developer of Grin++. He's a developer at Litecoin Foundation, and he is a shadowy supercoder, apparently is written right there in his bio. David is the lead developer for MWeb, which if you don't know, that's the most important thing. It's the biggest deal that happened to Litecoin network ever, being upgraded there for offering fungibility and enhancing confidentiality between senders and receivers and transactions and improving Litecoin's scalability. So that MWeb piece is a huge deal. And so he's going to talk to us now about the quantum secure web. Come on up. Dave Burkett, everybody. Thank you.
All right. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm rambling or you're confused or whatever, just interrupt me. I'll slow down, speed up, whatever. But I'm going to talk about, so a big topic right now is quantum security, quantum computing. Is it going to break everything? Is it coming soon? Whatever. So I'm going to talk about what MWeb looks like in a post-quantum future. So let me see if this, nope, wrong button. How about that? There we go. All right. So just little background on quantum computing and just crypto in general. So this is public key cryptography for anyone familiar. It's a pretty simple concept. You have, people always talk about their private key, right? You have a private key for your address, whatever. The private key is just a number. It's a 32 bytes, which is a really big number. How it's derived, maybe it comes from wallet words, like those 12 words that everyone memorizes, or maybe it comes just randomly generated, whatever. You have a private key, big long number, X there, okay? And then you have this point, this elliptic curve point, just a random point on this funky looking curve. And everybody agrees on that one point, and that is G there, right? And then you can multiply or perform some operation X number of times on that point. You can efficiently perform that operation one way to get P, which is your public key. It's just another curve on that, or another point on that goofy looking curve, right? So that's public key cryptography. You have a public key, right? And you have private key to get that public key, to generate it. And it's one way. That's kind of the crucial part of it, is if you have the public key, you can't find the private key, at least in theory. But that theory's fallen apart with quantum computing, because there's something called Shor's algorithm that takes advantage of the goofy probabilistic nature of everything at the very low level, and all these fancy quantum entanglement and all this stuff. They can use this. They can use all this in a way that's more that we can get exponential performance improvements over some of the classical computer algorithms to actually break this. We can, given enough quantum compute power, you can actually calculate the X from your, the private key from your public key, which is a pretty big deal, since all of crypto relies on it, right? And so MWeb, or Mimblewimble, it takes it a step farther. Here's how it works. So you have, instead of having on chain, normally you'll say I'm sending 7 Litecoins to this address or this public key. It actually combines those two parts. You have the value is multiplied, or that little operation again, with some other curve point, H. And then you kind of add that to your R, or this is like the X from before. It's just a private key. You have a private key, and you have the amount you're sending. And you kind of combine them in this fancy way. Just add them up. And you don't have to get too lost in the details here. The general point is that it's, instead of transparently saying I'm sending 7 Litecoins, it kind of just gets baked into your public key. Using that simple formula there. And a crucial part of it is that H and G, they're related, they're on the same curve, but nobody should know the relationship between those. Because if you think about it, if you knew H was, say, twice G, which I'm sure it's not, it's some super ridiculously large number times G. But if let's say it was twice it or something, you could then calculate a different private key with a different V, and you can still make that balance and come up with the same C, the same public commitment that is on chain. And so basically that allows you to inflate coins out of thin air. That's a big no-no, right? So that's why that H, the relationship between the H and the G, the two different curve points, can't be known. And then, you can see how Mimblewimble works. It's basically when we validate transactions, we just kind of add up all the inputs, all the different commitments from them, and then we add up all the outputs, where those coins are sent. And if the sum is the same, then we know, assuming that H and G's relationship is not known, we then know that all the private keys were accounted for, all of the values are the same, no new coins were printed, whatever. Okay? So a little bit about commitments. So we just saw what was called a Peterson commitment, and it's what's known as perfectly hiding. Because I mentioned there's technically, if you could figure out the relationship between H and G, you could come up with a different V, different value, a different number of Litecoin that commits to with a matching private key. And so if you could do that, there's a number of different ones. There's an infinite number of pairs of private keys, and that, it's a little hard to understand. But what you need to know is that it's what's known as perfectly hiding. No matter what, even if quantum computing happens and we end up being able to break that elliptic curve, discrete logarithm problem, the whole, find the whole private key from the public key, you still can't figure out V. It's perfectly well hidden. However, it does mean that you can, inflate coins, print coins out of thin air if you can figure out that H to G relationship. But there's other types of commitments that don't have that property. It's what's called as perfectly binding, computationally hiding. So we can still kind of hide the value, but if the relation between H and G was found, you could uncover that value later. But you can't use that to print coins. It's just a different way of committing to it. And I'll show you what it looks like here. No, I won't. I'll show you what it looks like later. There's a different way of committing to it instead of that just simple adding 2 points together. There's a different way of doing it where we can guarantee that even if quantum computing happens, they can't inflate the coins, but it's less private. That means that if that H to G relationship is found, you can uncover the value and do other things with it. Like I mentioned, we have Peterson commitments. Ours is perfectly hiding right now in the current form, which means that if that relationship is found, inflation can occur on chain, right? So if quantum computing happens, we learn the relationship between G and H, you can come up with different values, different keys to just print coins out of thin air. And that's the biggest problem we want to solve first to prevent a post-quantum disaster. And we have solved that. From the beginning, we have a solution to that called switch commitments, where this can get really deep in the math here and can get confusing for a talk like this. But all you need to know is when we build these Peterson commitments, we actually use, we're really clever about how we choose the keys that we use in there, to where at any time in the future, when we decide that quantum computing is a serious threat, we need to switch to the safer, the supply safe version, the perfectly binding but not perfectly hiding form, which is called LGML over here. You can see it's a little bit different form. But we can just flip that switch on the network and start to require more information when we validate. And from the beginning, we've made it so wallets build those commitments cleverly to where when that switch occurs, all past coins, they can still build this different kind of commitment to spend those. But there's a privacy trade-off. You actually have to reveal the value. So one of the main reasons to use MWeb is that the value is hidden. You don't have your coins. When you transact, you don't tell everyone how many coins you're using, everyone who's watching the blockchain. It's all hidden and encrypted in fancy ways. But if we switch over to this other way, suddenly we lose that. And we have to actually, when we spend our coins, we have to reveal how much is being spent. So there's been a lot of confusion in the past about what switch commitments are and how they work for MWeb, but this is it in a nutshell. It just allows us to start to require some additional information when we spend old coins that ensures that that inflation isn't occurring behind the scenes, that if someone had broken that GH relationship, if they had discovered quantum computing at some point that had invented some form of quantum computing that's sophisticated enough, then we just don't want it broken in the background without us knowing about it. We can switch to this, which is just a little more secure. So switch commitments is simply that. It allows us to switch to a different form where it's not as private anymore, but we know that inflation is not occurring on chain. However, all that does is, I talked about there what it solves, right? But all that really does is bring us back to where Litecoin is now on the transparent chain, or where Bitcoin is right now, which is there's no inflation occurring with post-quantum computing. However, your coins can still be stolen. Given enough time, someone can use their fancy quantum computer to figure out your private key from your public key, which is on-chain. And that's still obviously a serious problem. And I don't know, this is all AI generated, so just it looks really cool though, so you got to admit that. But okay, so it's not moving, is it? There it is. Okay, so we have to think about how we fix that, right? What's the replacement going to look like, both for MWeb, which we have to switch. We're still using elliptic curve cryptography for everything else there, but also for Litecoin itself. Like, what will the future look like with post-quantum crypto there? And so there's a few different candidates there that I've listed. This would be for MWeb. There's like 3 different things we have to switch. But for regular Litecoin, there'd just be one. And it would be the first one there. So that you can see there's a few protocols there that exist. But the problem is they're huge, right? These are just like some quick, like, back of the envelope kind of numbers here. But you can see for the signatures themselves, they're like 40 to 70 times the size. So right now it's 64 bytes. So 40 to 70 times that, it's quite large. And suddenly you're filling blocks with just a few signatures. It's not scalable. We're not going to be able to be some decentralized currency used for everyday payments if this is what we have to go with. And unfortunately, Bitcoin has the same problem, right? They still have to find some kind of replacement. They have to choose some kind of different system. And there's ones being developed now that are a little bit smaller, maybe, but they're still very theoretical. The most solid candidates are just gigantic. And so the reality is we don't know how to make MWeb post-quantum MWeb that's scalable, and we don't know how to even make post-quantum Litecoin that's scalable, or Bitcoin that's scalable. And anyone who tells you otherwise is just they're lying to you. There's no major cryptocurrency right now is quantum safe, and none have a very serious path forward for how to do it in an efficient, scalable way. So the good news is, I think we're still a long way out. I'm not a hardware engineer. I'm not like a quantum physicist who spends his days in the labs, like, messing with like superconductors and things like that. But it takes about 1,200, maybe a little more, what are called qubits. They're kind of like the equivalent of just regular computer bits, except in the quantum world, to be able to break elliptic curve cryptography, which is what everything's based on. And right now we're looking at like 48 qubits. Maybe someone has said 94, but we haven't quite verified that. But so far we have just very small number of qubits that we've been able to demonstrate publicly that quantum computing is capable of currently with current tech. But we don't know at what point that could have like the AI moment where suddenly GPT-3 came out and it exploded within a year or two. The same thing could happen with quantum, but hopefully not. To me, it's all magic. Like, I understand how it works. It's kind of like airplanes. Like, I came over to Europe in like a £1 million airplane, and like you know it can fly. It happens thousands of times every day, but just not possible, like it's a big ass plane. Well, that's kind of the same thing here. Like, it doesn't seem possible that we can, whatever. But we are. And they're clearly making progress. So it is something we have to plan for. We have to find a solution for. But everybody's in the same boat. So it's not like every coin's trying to be like, oh, we have a quantum safe future. We have a plan for this. Nobody has a plan for this. We're all lying. It's going to be a disaster if this occurs, if we get to this side, for MWeb, for Litecoin, for Bitcoin, for everything. So this is very much an open problem, and I appreciate that they chose such a depressing topic here for early in the conference. But that's yeah, you're welcome for that too. So yeah, so our roadmap though is like support those switch commitments, which we already have. Activated if we see things get serious. Suddenly we start to require more info. In order to spend it, you kind of have to give up your privacy. You have to reveal the value when you're spending. And then at some point, we have to switch to something new. But no idea what that new thing's going to look like. So in a nutshell, post-quantum MWeb, your guess is as good as mine. Any questions? Yes.
First of all, having people like yourself looking at this stuff makes me feel so much better holding Litecoin in the future. So with all these narratives that come and go in crypto, do we really need to be worried about quantum? Because surely the banks, the traditional TradFi, when I go to my stockbroker, I put 3 random letters in for like 15-letter password. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the target, not crypto.
Yeah, if post-quantum crypto, or if we're in a post-quantum world all of a sudden, that would be that'd be problematic for a number of systems. But the extra fear for crypto is that there's no one centralized to just like, let's turn it off, let's quickly upgrade, whatever. You saw like. I've brought up in the past, but it's still hilarious to me. Like Bitcoin was ready to fork over like filtering policy. Like they cannot push an upgrade to get consensus. They're a disaster. Even if they had a perfect solution today, it would take them a decade or more to activate it. We're in a much better situation with Litecoin, but still, like we don't have the solution yet. If we are suddenly in a post-quantum world, with centralized things, it's not as much of a big deal if it's like larger for a while, because it doesn't have to be broadcast to thousands of nodes, across varying internet speeds, and if something more efficient comes out, they can quickly upgrade. It's a lot slower in the crypto world, and the risk is direct. There's nothing, we can't roll back. Banks, if you get hacked, it's just like, oh, let's just roll back. It's not really an issue, or that's not really an option for us. So we definitely have to be more ready than a bank does for something like this. And we're not. But yeah, what's up?
I understand why it's not viable right now in a technical manner to actually have like fully secure everything, especially transactions, because of size. But like, according to the recent news, even Google got its time to prepare for quantum like half the time, and they have like this huge.
What they have done is they've given a timeline when you should upgrade. They haven't said that like, we're going to be in a post-quantum world in 2029 or anything like that. They're very conservative with the estimates, as they should be, because it's better safe than sorry. They're saying everybody should upgrade to something by 2029 in order to be safe. And hopefully by 2029 we have a lot better solutions. Like there's, Starks are an option for us, like Snarks, all kinds of, well, now Snarks, most of those aren't quantum safe, but like Starks, we have some lattice-based things, and some of them are getting smaller, but just currently it's too big to be a feasible option for us. So we're just kind of really hoping that maybe AI will, invent something clever that we can upgrade to, and they don't accidentally invent better quantum computing techniques in the meantime. So it's a race, and we're all kind of praying that we end up ahead. But yeah, right now it's scary. So, but we have a few years at least. Hopefully, a lot more than that. We used to think like 2050, but recently, I can't. Like I said, I'm not in a lab every day doing all this stuff. Like, I don't know how serious some of the things are, but there's some people are very alarmist about it and panicking and saying 2029, 2030, whatever. It's probably not going to be that soon, but definitely an area we need to research, we as cryptocurrencies as a whole, and find some really good solutions for. Yeah. I can't hear.
How about the threat from AI, the next Anthropic, like Anthropic's done?
Yeah. I don't know if they've done much with that or not. Anything? Anyone else? All right. Well, yeah. All right. Thank you.
So now you can see why they hired a comedian to follow things like that, because I don't exactly understand all of what's going on. So when I come here from the outside, I'm like, what's going to stop the world from just shutting the stuff down? And our most top expert in the coding field of the blockchain is like, yeah, no, you're right, Marty. They can just shut it all down. This is that. I feel great about this stuff now, right? But I have the solution. I thought of it right back there, because the big threat is quantum computing being able to hack and do everything we want. But quantum physics and quantum computing is Iron Man, right? That's like Tony Stark and the Avengers invented time travel with quantum computing, right? So anybody who wins the race of the quantum computing race is not going to use it to hack your current Litecoin or Bitcoin. They're going to use it to travel back in time to buy Bitcoin when it was $50 and then hold the quantum computing secret to come back here and live in it, right? That'd be a much more effective use of the quantum computing, I think. I can see everybody agreeing with me. Thank you. This is good. And put money on the Cubs and the Red Sox in 2006 and 2008. That would be what I would do with time travel. But anyway, that was a really depressing talk, Dave. Thanks for that. I had to go through that at breakfast and then again here. So I'm just loving it. This is great. Next year, let's end the summit with that talk instead of start. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's great. It's great to know that he's honest and we just don't have the solution yet. But I do feel like in the World War II times and the Manhattan Project times and the Oppenheimer times, people were out there trying to invent the solutions. And now this generation of people is like, maybe AI will do it for us. Sorry, I'm just being dead serious. Okay. No, it's awesome. You guys are great. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Tom Barbaro and Rogero Montalto. Forgive me if I'm not saying this correctly. I'm not trying to mock you. They're of TNO, Netherlands. Dr. Tom Barbaro is a social scientist and researcher with a keen interest in emerging technologies and the dynamics of digital innovation. His specialization lies in cross-disciplinary collaboration and the study of socio-technical controversies. Rogero Montalto holds a research master's degree in neurolinguistics and models of grammar from the University of Groningen. Since joining TNO in 2019, he has been part of the Cybersecurity Technologies Department within the ICT Strategy and Policy Unit, widely considered a cybersecurity expert. My sincere apologies for however badly I've butchered your introduction from the United States, from the South. So please welcome Tom Barbaro and Rogero Montalto.
Is this the clicker?
Yep.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. We are going to present to you a paper that Rogero and I published earlier this year together with our colleague Bart in St. Kitts at the leading conference on cryptocurrency analytics. Obviously, it's about MWeb. I think we'll bring something slightly exciting to you. since the introduction was butchered, whoops. My name is Tom. I'm a research scientist at TNO. I live around the corner, so it was quite easy for me to come by. I'm joined here by...
Yeah, Ruggero Montalto, that's how you say it, but nicely done. And I'm mostly a project and program manager, but I do dub as a cybersecurity researcher on a number of topics. And cryptocurrencies is one of them, those topics.
So about TNO, just briefly for those colleagues or people in the room who are not from the Netherlands, TNO is the Dutch Institute for Applied Scientific Research. It's a statutory research organization that was founded in the 30s. We now about 4,500 employees throughout the country, doing all kinds of things from doing research on new chemicals to more the cybersecurity stuff that the two of us work on. Our main goal is to actually connect science with industry and vice versa. So what we do are commissioned research projects for companies as well as the government. And today, this came out of simply research that the two of us did out of interest in Litecoin. A cool project, obviously, that we've been following for years. We were a bit lazy and just put a few projects on there as well. I heard the previous talk was about quantum. Actually, there's a colleague of us who's going to speak on Wednesday as well at the Dutch Blockchain Week, who talks about post-quantum migration, so maybe that can be helpful. But yeah, we do all kinds of things, identity, fundamental research. So I would just hand it over to Ruggero.
Yep. So let's dive into the paper. And for work that Tom and I have done related to the ongoing topic of digitalizing of money, we kind of thought, well, let's also look at what has been done in the last 15 years in cryptocurrencies, because that's supposed to do something similar to what money does at the point it was created. And of course, it doesn't take long when you start looking at cryptocurrencies before you stumble upon privacy enhancement technologies applied to cryptocurrencies. So, and then we found the interesting case of Litecoin, where basically the research question that we had was, hey, this coin started as not a privacy coin, but then turned into one based on something that was initially meant for Bitcoin. How has that been working for them in the last 3 years? So if you will read our paper, or if you have read our paper, we start with a question, well, has Litecoin earned a seat at the privacy coin table? So we briefly looked at Monero, well, that was born private. We looked at Zcash, that was born like half and half, by default transparent, but if you want it can be private. And then there was Litecoin. So optional privacy, but grafted onto a long history where that technical possibility was not available. So we also asked, well, can this MWeb model travel farther, especially since Litecoin has been, in several cases in the past, also the testbed of features that shortly after have also been implemented in Bitcoin. So we basically use only blockchain internal data set. We don't look at anything else but the data that is in the blocks of the Litecoin chain. And our data set spans from May 2022 to November 2025. So yes, there is like half a year that has passed. The rest of my slides are like frozen in time at November 2025. So please no questions after that point, because I also didn't have time to look at the last 6 months in the blockchain. Mimblewimble in a nutshell. I don't think that I have to repeat this after David spoke. I feel a little bit embarrassed about that, but just as David already mentioned, anonymity is achieved through Pedersen commitments. We don't know anything about the values being transacted. We don't have the addresses that the coins move to and from. And there is a cut through erasing intermediate transaction history. Also, this was interesting for us. Mimblewimble is basically script-free, which removes a lot of the stuff that can be done in coins that have some form of scripting. The last point is quite important for the slides to come. We basically categorize transactions in our paper in 4 categories: transparent to transparent, Mimblewimble to transparent, transparent to Mimblewimble, and Mimblewimble to Mimblewimble. Of course, there won't be any slide about transparent to transparent, and to make it a little bit more accessible, I will now stick to my script. Yeah, the stuff we looked at is mostly what is going around the so-called Hogwarts Express address. So what goes into that, what comes out of that, and by looking at Mimblewimble blocks and at the kernels of the blocks, we also try to infer certain quantification of things that might be happening within the anonymity set. And that's all you can see, because the rest, of course, is private by design. Our methodology was really not spectacular. We dumped the blockchain, we put it in a time scale database, and then we just queried the hell out of it using CSV and R. As I said, we looked at peg-in and peg-outs, transaction counts, volumes, value distributions over time, and we tried to do something with fees and kernel counts to the extent that that is possible to do. So, our findings. I'll tell you in a moment something about phased adoption, something about a growing privacy set, and something about usage patterns. So, this is my first chart. This tracks month by month how many times coins moved into the privacy layer versus how many times they moved back out. And since this is since the launch of MWeb until November. All the graphs from now on are until November. What it does not tell yet is how many coins moved, but that is to come. So for most of 2022 through mid-2024, we see, do I have the laser thing? Yeah, that's basically here. We see that the two lines move together, both under 1,000 outputs a month. And then from late 2024, here, both lines climb sharply. But notice the gap. So the space in between peg out and peg in, that peaks also around 2025, and it shows that big thing is like nearly 3 times as much. So to the next slide, I'm just going through. This will all come together in one big picture at the end. So this chart shifts from output counts to actual LTC value. We see both the monthly flow, that is the little bars at the bottom, as well as the cumulative total, that is the line. And that how moves through. The bars at the bottom show monthly volume, magenta for peg-in and green for peg-out, mostly modest until 2023. Then here, within a single month, peg-in spikes through above 500,000 Litecoin, which is, we find, an outlier if we look at the whole history. And then, that spike shows up clearly in the cumulative lines above. So this is an interesting piece of data in the sense that even if this was an outlier, this is how many Litecoins became fungible at that point. So from now on, you can see this as the coin space that has been at some point in time made clean. Like the history of those coins can only be told from the moment they came out of the Hogwarts Express block. So the gap between cumulative peg-in and peg-out I just explained. And then by November 2025, so here, we see that the cumulative peg-in approaches 2.6 million Litecoin. That was back then an ongoing trend. So next slide. This chart drops the totals, and instead we look at the typical transaction size. Specifically, we look here at the median LTC amount per peg-in and peg-out month by month throughout the whole period. Two things jump out. First, the peg-in in magenta is more volatile and runs higher than the peg-out in green, especially from early 2024 onwards. Then repeatedly spiking, we see that it has a peak here around 8.2 Litecoin, while the peg-out stays in comparison quite tame. It does never really go above 4. So since we are looking here at the medians and not the means, these swings reflect a genuine shift in typical user behavior. We basically don't see anymore those outliers like the big whale that in the previous slide at some point threw a lot of coins into the anonymity set. So over time, the coins entering MWeb show larger individual amounts, and that is consistent with what we saw on the previous slide. And the peg-out will, staying lower, steadier, suggested users withdraw in smaller increments than what they deposit. And I don't know, it's speculation, perhaps they're spending or redistributing gradually rather than pulling out lump sums, but we don't know, really. It's just speculation. So the slides break transaction into size buckets. On the left, we see buckets for transaction count, and on the right, buckets for total LTC value instead of count. On the left, we see that most peg-ins and peg-outs cluster in the 0.1 till the 1 to 10 LTC range, and that is a data pattern consistent with MWeb outputs being spent in smaller amounts on the way out. On the right, we see that the picture flips entirely. The single bucket of transactions over here, above 1,000 LTCs, dominates the total volume here. And that accounts for over 1.6 million of the 2.6 million Litecoin that we were mentioning in the previous slide. Well, this actually seems to be a classic power law pattern found in most monetary systems, where the most transactions are small, but most value is moved in a small number by large whale transactions. So, yeah, basically, yeah, well, like, rich guys put a lot of money in it, but normal guys use it a lot. That's, I guess, the take-home message for that slide. So here we flattened and aggregated. Here I'm slowly entering the usage pattern part of the results, by the way. So here we flattened and aggregated our entire data set into a single 24-hour cycle. And we see three series. We see the kernels in blue, input spent in green, and outputs created in magenta. What we see is a human usage pattern because, and UTC roughly, probably it's an international public, overlaps with the European evening and the US East Coast daytime activity. So we see roughly 3 times swing in between the lowest and the highest point. The lowest point is at 6 a.m. UTC, and then we see that it climbs increasingly. It peaks around here in between 4 and 6 p.m., and then it kind of stays average until midnight. Then people have probably go to sleep, and it goes down again. Outputs created sit consistently above the input spends, which sits above the kernel count all day, every hour. That ordering never inverts. And if we understood the structure of Mimblewimble correctly, where each kernel covers one transaction, but a single transaction in turn can spend multiple inputs and create multiple outputs, this persistent gap would mean that there is a lot of Mimblewimble to Mimblewimble activity also going on, not just coins getting in and out. Then, almost done. This is like the one before the last graph.
Could you go back to the last slide very quickly? I just wanted to make sure I understood. So
Yeah, just a moment. This one?
yes.
Yeah.
So you took all of the data, like over all of the days, you compressed it into just a 24-hour period. Like, so you pretty much averaged hundreds of days into like one day. And that's what this graph is.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So this is the flattened average day over a time span of 3.5 years. So this slide presents 3 distribution buckets, and don't mind that it's black and white. Means that I made it especially for you guys. I didn't have this the last time I presented this. On the left, we see the percentage of Mimblewimble blocks by how many outputs they contain. In the middle here, we see when Mimblewimble outputs were actually spent, and we bucketed by how long they stay unspent first. And in the last 1 year, we see the kernel fees in Satoshis. If that's what it's called, maybe Litoshis, I don't know. So about the left, we see that 88% of all the MWeb blocks have 0 transactions. So that's only basically 8% that has 2 to 5 outputs, and that goes decreasing, and the smallest amount is 12 transactions over the whole data set that have more than 50 outputs. Then, we conclude from this that Mimblewimble activity is real, but it's not saturating every block, and most block pass with no MWeb footprint whatsoever. In the middle, we see no dominance, so it's a little bit, the data set is all over the place. There is some people that keep it 1 to 4 months, some people that keep it for 1 hour, some people up to 12 months, but really, except for more than a year, there's probably people that lost their keys. All of this is not significantly different. So people use it in a variety of ways, like quick cleaning up the coins, up till storing for long term, and then moving it again. We describe it. Cannot make any more sense out of it than what I'm saying now. And here, well, we see, interestingly, that 97% of all the kernels pays in between 1,000 and 10,000 Satoshis in fees. I believe I have the suspect that this might be an artifact of the fact that there is a limited number of wallet solutions allowing to interact with Mimblewimble, which they may even come with a preset fee, and that people are just sticking to that. And here it comes all together. So in this last chart, we focus on the MWeb to MWeb transactional activity, something we infer from the gap in between outputs created, which is the green line, and the kernel count, the blue line. Since each transaction has exactly 1 kernel, if all MWeb activity were only peg-ins and peg-outs, we believe outputs created would closely track the kernels. So this green would really be close to this blue. Instead, we see that they run consistently and substantially apart from one another. This means that each kernel on average produces more than 1 output, which only happens in MWeb to MWeb transactions, where a sender creates, for instance, a recipient output plus a change output, both within the anonymity set under a single kernel. Also, if activity were predominantly peg-in followed by immediate peg-out, one would expect outputs unspent, so the purple line at the bottom, to be near 0, and outputs created roughly equivalent to the kernels. We see neither. Instead, the persistent output unspent line at the bottom never collapsing to zero indicates a growing UTXO set. That would be the unspent outputs, not being immediately pegged out. Those same UTXOs are being held inside the extension block and recycled as inputs in subsequent MWeb-to-MWeb transactions, which is what sustains the gap structurally over time. So by inference, all of this proves, in our opinion, that there is some internal MWeb churning. These coins, we don't know if it's Alice sending something to Bob, or if it's Alice reorganizing her wallets, because that's private by design. So that's as far as our analysis can arrive. But summarizing, we do see transaction value. We see that it's being used as a blockchain solution in itself, in parallel to what happens to Litecoin transactions in the transparent chain. So below there is the fees being paid. There is here someone that created an outlier in 2023 for some reason. I'm pretty sure that I can look it up who that was, because I do have the data, but I didn't think it was interesting enough. I'll give it back to Tom.
All right. I see that we have not too much time left, so I'll kind of jump through this. So we discussed already what MWeb is. No need to go back to that. What I think one of the key findings is that we actually see this genuine usage of M2M transactions, right? I think that's really what is the core thing that you can take home with you. So we're ending on a bright note, unlike you did before. Some other takeaways is that we indeed see that MWeb could indeed be really a meaningful privacy mechanism, right? That allows users to use and take advantage of privacy mechanisms without per se abandoning any kind of liquidity. So that's quite nice. I know that there's a panel later as well on regulatory questions. One of the things that we kind of argue as well is that we see a bit of a resilience to this regulatory pressure, at least in the privacy space that the coin brings. So that's good news as well. But maybe the panel later can engage with this more. So we have some concluding thoughts or rather questions. The first one is obviously, how do we handle this as it becomes a mainstream currency? The second one, again, I'll point to the panel later, hoping that these discussions come up, is given the status of MWeb and given its growing adoption that we've shown in the paper, is it worthwhile to engage with this particular mechanisms in policy discussions, and to what extent might that influence the future? And the last one is obviously what Ruggiero hinted at earlier already, is this idea that MWeb was obviously initially proposed to address privacy in Bitcoin, and now the question is, as we see growing adoption in Litecoin, would that be a sufficient argument for Bitcoin to advance? And I think the data set that we have and the data set that we presented in the paper is probably the closest reference we have to this.
So probably a lot of the people in the room is very enthusiastic about Litecoin, so would like to leave you with what we think is a very positive message to the great work that has been doing in the development of the coin. So for many years, whoever said, what are the coins that implement the state-of-the-art privacy enhancement feature set? It's always Zcash, Monero, and Dash. I think that we have enough data to show that in the meanwhile that has shifted, and the three state-of-the-art coins all appearing on the first page of CoinMarketCap in terms of value are now Zcash, Monero, and Litecoin.
And you're welcome to connect with us. There's a link here to the paper. I'm not sure if somehow that can be shared as well later on. I'll step away from the screen. Maybe that's easier.
And we're really friendly, so really at any point in time in the future, whenever you want, if you have a question, if you think that we did something not well enough, if you have any, just get in touch with us. We are very curious people, and we like to talk science and data with all of you.
And I think, do we have time to take questions?
No. And
If there's any
one
immediate-
thing, our third author is a mathematician and a cryptographer. Is not here today, but
The time we
we take in also cryptography and mathematics questions.
I was going to say.
If there are any questions, we can take some. I see the ticker, 4 minutes, but if not, then we keep it.
Think we're good? Yeah, I think we're good.
Cheers.
So I just want to clarify too that I was making jokes about the dismal future. I am on board with Litecoin being optimistic, and it's more out of necessity. I have to have it be recovering, or else I'm going to be in a demise. But other than that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So no, but great. And let's get the names correct for me. Say them again for me. The names: Tom and Ruggiero. Ruggiero. I'm doing that more correctly? Okay, good. All right, it's awesome. So what I took away from that was they're very optimistic from the data set that the privacy is working. I didn't understand any of the charts or anything, but I understood the theme of what's going on, and I trust the guys worked hard on the data. So that's where we're at. I mean, what's really funny about this is we're all exactly like this about fiat currency too. Because we just, in the 70s and 80s, we grew up and we're like, the dollar bill is fine, everything's going great. But there was just smart people behind the scenes telling us whatever we decided to believe about it, right? And so now we do that with cryptocurrency. So that's what I'm learning. And here we get to meet the smart people, and they really sound smart. So I feel like they could just say the smart things. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm going to invest in that. That's good. Because our politicians are in charge of our money now, and they sound stupid on television, right? So there's that we have to deal with. Also, somebody asked me, why do you always wear the hat, Marty? You always wear the hat and you wear tennis shoes. That's kind of weird. And I tell people it's because I have my logo on my hat so you can remember it. I have my favorite Bible verse on my hat, and I'm bald. So I wear the hat. But I'm not ashamed of being bald. I'm not. Yes, thank you. I am not ashamed of being bald at all. It's a necessity that I wear the hat because I did an event about 9 years ago. This guy, before you made a living in stand-up comedy for 15 years, never missed a payment, had a great credit score, standard, solid, good working comic. Then about 8 or 9 years ago, I was late for an event from the airport, and I ran through the theater and jumped on stage and had my hat on from running through the airport, did my whole show, and people took pictures of me, posted it on social media, and then my agent used those pictures in my marketing, and my bookings tripled from the pictures with my hat on. So this guy, standard, solid, good, hardworking, successful comic, but apparently this guy is a star. So that's why I wear the hat, and it's y'all's fault. You're the people back at home when you go and you book your comedian for your company party or whatever, and so it's your fault that I wear the hat. So I just like to make sure people know I'm not ashamed of it. If you want to see my head later, you can just ask. It'll be awkward to ask to see my head, but I'll take the hat off. So anyway, let's gonna let y'all know in the back the confidence monitor's gone. That's okay. I'm a professional. So Alexis Russell, is he in here? Maybe I'm going to fill a little more time. Oh, we're going to the 10-minute break now. Oh, we're that far ahead. Okay. So y'all are just waiting to go to the restroom. I did learn one thing. My friend told me that in Amsterdam, if you ask where the bathroom is, they'll tell you where you can go take a shower. And that if you need to relieve yourself, you need to ask where the toilet is. Is that right? In Amsterdam, you ask where the toilet is to go to the restroom. In America, we would say, where's the bathroom? But so if you need to go to the toilet, they're out there. I don't know if we have bathrooms in this place. But now we have a 10 or 12-minute break. So get your sponsors visited and your juices drank and your snacks eaten, and give it up for Litecoin. All right, welcome back from your break, everybody. That's good. How about a little bit of a round of applause for no reason? Yes. That's the professional technique to see who's listening. So then I know the people buried in their phone are not listening. No offense at all. I just wanted to go over a little bit of the Netherlands Dutch culture naming things. There's this bottle that's clearly labeled with apples, but above it says sinaasappel, which is in this country is what kind of juice? Orange juice. Sinaasappel juice is not apple juice. That's just apple. Sinaasappel is orange. Apparently, they love their apples here, so they name everything apple. So sinaasappel actually means Chinese apple. So this strange, weird, tough-skinned apple from China, what we know as the orange, here is the sinaasappel. And then what is the pineapple? Say it again. Ananas. It's the Hawaiian apple. And the baseball, like the American baseball, is the dirt apple. I'm just made that one up. But if you want apple juice, just get the one-word apple. If you want the orange juice, get the sinaasappel. You guys are great. You guys are awesome. I do appreciate the Litecoin Summit because every morning we start the thing and I just feel like as a professional comedian, I'm just bombing and doing terribly and I'm dying inside a little piece at a time. And then everyone at the break is like, you're so funny. You're being so great up there. And so I think everyone is just like, I'm so glad they didn't ask me to be up there and have to be in front of these people staring awkwardly the whole time while we talk about the end of civilization. Give it up for David Burkett one more time, everybody. Mimbo Wimbo, that's MWeb, right? So now we're going to move on. We have a very exciting guest, Alexis Roussel with NIM. Alexis is a COO and co-founder. Before NIM, he established Biddy. Is that how you say it? Biddy? Biddy, a Swiss crypto brokerage and financial services firm, and led the Swiss Pirate Party in support of privacy rights. That's a funny concept to lead the Pirate Party in pursuit of privacy rights, because in American culture, pirates would like raid your civilization and steal everything from you. That's what pirates do. So it's just a funny concept that the Pirate Party wasn't leading the privacy rights. Is that just me? That's just only funny to me? Okay. He has had roles at the International Court of Justice and the United Nations. He earned his master's in law from the Sorbonne University in Paris. And just the Dutch words, the British words, the English words, they're just having this dumb American have to say all these different accented words. So my grand apologies to everyone. Please welcome Alexis Roussel from NIM. Also, if we could, when you ask a question at the end, if you have questions, if the speakers would repeat the questions to our streamers on the live stream, it would be very helpful. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you very much. And I'm really happy to be here in Amsterdam. I'm really happy to be at the Litecoin. I have some relationship with Litecoin because I'm in Bitcoin since 2012. Made my first broker in 2013. And Litecoin was one of the coins we accepted from the start. And today I'm working in privacy, and Litecoin is also part of the game in here. So we'll talk about this. So yeah, the talk is about privacy in the age of AI. Things are changing very fast, but actually a lot of the tools are already in preparation. I'm going to show you what we do at NIM, what kind of technology we have been building, and how we wrap it up, how we present it to the public, to the retail, and how you can integrate and how you can use it, and what does it really actually provide. So we start with a kind of bold statement, if I click here, yeah, which says that the internet is broken. In terms of privacy, we think it's broken, and there's a lot of things to be done. So the internet was built to be fully transparent. Just like going on the web, for example, at the beginning, you were using HTTP, and you had a website, and everything was like clear. So there was a lot of problems at the beginning, because if you wanted to log into a website, you were sending your password in clear through the internet. So that changed with the advent of TLS, where you have the HTTPS that came, and then like the communication was encrypted end to end, and then the concept of end-to-end encryption started. So that's good, but still, all the communications on the internet are seen as transparent, in the sense we can see who you are talking to, on which website you're going. It doesn't matter if the communication itself is encrypted. We can see which website you are going to, so we can censor you, but also we can make analysis around you. So right now there's like no overall solution to make sure that the whole internet is private, and there's no solution to defend what we call against global passive adversary. And global passive adversaries are institutions or people who have enough tools and access to the network to actually look at the whole footprint of people, digital footprint of people on the network, and actually make profiling around them. So who can do this right now? Obviously, states, governments, but also big companies who do ad profiling, basically Meta ad profiling or Google profiling. They have these tools to basically, they have access to so much part of the network, they can see all the connection times and all the communication patterns. And of course, criminals too are getting more and more access to this data, and the price, with the advent of AI also, the price of actually looking at all the network and analyzing the patterns is getting really, really down. So it was already spotted a few years ago, the privacy is going to be something necessary. There's going to be a shift soon in privacy. There is a paradigm of privacy, and we believe on that. End-to-end encryption is not enough, so we need to create basically something which obfuscates the whole network and can make people anonymous. That's the objective that we want to do, and we want to get to the point where we have this TLS moment, but for overall privacy on the internet. So what we did build at NIM, and at NIM we have three main parts that we built. There's two main technological thing, and there's the economical part. I won't go on the economical side, but I will focus on especially the mixnet itself and the NIM credential, which are a form of zero-knowledge proof. So and basically the NIM solution is kind of like a mismatch, a match of all of them together to provide anonymity on the usage of the network. So what is a mixnet first? So a mixnet is a kind of network which is a multi-layered network. It doesn't look like a traditional peer-to-peer network, but it's a multi-hop network. So you have 3 layers of servers, and your traffic will go from on each of the servers, on each of the layers. But the specific about the mixnet is that every packet will use a different route through the network. So you don't use one specific route in the network like you would do for a VPN, or if some people of you know Tor, you will use one route through the network. Actually, your packets are going to be split around the network and use all different routes, and then all your stream of data that you're sending will not be captured or seen by one single server. On the same time, in addition of your traffic being completely split and mixed with the rest of the traffic, we're going to add cover traffic. We're going to add fake traffic, which is done by the user. And this fake traffic, which is around 30%, will create noise, so that any kind of person who's observing the network wouldn't understand what is happening to your traffic. And to make it even worse, I mean, if you're more complicated, every packet is the same size, and every packet that goes through these hops will be slowed down by the servers, by the mix server, in a random way or in a different way. So every packet will not come out in the same order. So we don't provide order management. Like if you are sending 10 packets, they will come in a different orders at the exit. But that will make any kind of observer, it's very hard for them to recreate the original order and the original packets and the original destination. So basically, we blind them with a lot of noise and like lots of mixes on the network. So that's a quick comparison how it goes. So you would see like on the bottom, you would have like a standard VPN where you use a server which is somewhere in the world, which is provided by a VPN company, and you go out to connect to the internet. And basically, you have a pattern of communication, which is your HTTP stream, your like web stream, for example. And this web stream goes through the server, and then you can see the same stream on the other side. And someone who's observing the entry and the exit of this guy, for example, or actually this guy himself, you can definitely see, you can correlate those two together, the client and the web service. On Tor, it's a bit different because you have three servers in the middle, but you take the same route. And Tor, you would have also the traffic is the pattern of your traffic is there, and it will replicate on the other side. And then what we can do, there's a famous attack on Tor, which actually we believe that Tor, whenever you're using Tor, for example, you go on a dark market, Tor is actually not protecting you very much. As an individual, they don't care much, but if you're like the provider of the dark market, they will get you actually through an attack on Tor. And what do? They do what is called timing attack. So they will actually time measure the latency on how much time it takes for the packet to go to one place to the server and to hit and come back. And then they can identify in which data center basically the server is at one point based on the lengths of the cables and these kind of stuff. So the MixNet has a system where basically the packets are all formed into the same size. We make every user of the network will have the same size of packets, and they will go through the MixNet in a much more complicated way. Here there's a more like deep dive, but basically your packet will take a route in the MixNet, and there are a bunch of nodes which are waiting. We have about 200 nodes which are in the row and they are being used. So like the person who's observing this, you don't just have one client, you have like multiple clients using multiple services, and we all use the same network. So all the packets are going through all the time and mixed all the time. In addition for this, we have like another element which is called the ZK-NIM, and it's like based on the work from people of our team, and it was originally called the Coconut Threshold Signature Scheme. And this is a ZK proof. Basically, the system that we are building, sometimes you want to have a payment. You want to have like access to a network, and you want to pay for it, like a VPN. You want to give a subscription, for example. But if you give a subscription to someone, you need to know, you need to have a kind of ID of the person, and then you need to measure how much this person is consuming, right? So this is destroying the anonymity or the privacy of the person, because like the provider of the service will actually be able to link your usage with the payments. And so we already have a very nice system where when you're a user, an observer from the outside cannot tell how you're using the system. But we, as a provider of the app and of like the payment system, we also don't want to see that. So how do we do this? We use this ZK-NIM, which basically will allow us to create a proof that you've paid, and this proof is generated by the network actually. So you have a proof that it's paid, and this proof you can receive it on your phone, and you can randomize it locally on your device. So every client of NIM will actually randomize this proof, and when it shows the proof to open the gate, it shows a proof which is a valid zero-knowledge proof, which says you have paid, but it's every time a different proof. It looks different. And which means that if the part of the network that has issued the proof and the part of the network which are reading the proof, if they're trying to collude, they don't see the same proofs. They see all valid proofs, but the strings are completely different. So this randomization is really the key, and it allows us to do like a selective disclosure, which is like one of the key principles of anonymity, and also like cypherpunk values. If you read the documents, the old manifestos, you will see that selective disclosure is like what we need to be able to have true privacy in the network. So we build all these technologies, and then we had to bring it to somehow like bring it to the market and making sure that it's available. And it's very hard to sell or to like distribute a mixnet because a mixnet is something which is pretty novel in terms of like being built. The concept was from the 80s from David Shum, and there was like few projects that tried to build a mixnet. I'll give you a small story which is quite fun because we're quite much friends with Adam Back. And basically, you remember Adam Back is the one who kind of like had the first implementation of proof of work. And the proof of work, he was using it not to mine a cryptocurrency, but it was used in an email system. So he had built an anonymous remailer, which was basically a server with where you can relay emails. You can send an email there, and it would actually mix your email with others, and you were able to send anonymous emails. And so that was like something that the cypherpunks were working on, how you send messages anonymously. And Adam Back was doing this. But then he was faced with a real problem. He was faced with a problem of spam. And because once you have an anonymous server, all the spammers are like, hey, PA, we're going to use this, and we're not going to be caught when we're sending our emails. So he invented the proof of work that is being used in Bitcoin and in Litecoin to add a kind of like small delay of like a second to send an email, which was fine if you're a legit user of the service, it's fine. So what is interesting is that he invented the proof of work because he had an anonymous system, because it was using a small mixnet. So the mixnet is actually like part of the history of Bitcoin, where it actually pushed the invention of proof of work, and then proof of work was being repurposed for what it is doing now at Bitcoin. So what we decided to do is we decided to go retail and build a VPN, which is like an application which is built on the infrastructure of the mixnet. So it doesn't always use the mixnet. If you're using it, you can have like a normal VPN. We decided, and that's maybe also for you guys, some of you who are founders or in projects, is like when you build something, which is like has some very different technology, and you want to bring it to the masses. Basically, sometimes if the masses that don't know about your product, it's not something that they will kind of purchase, or use. So here, what we decided to say, we say, okay, well, we have this infrastructure which is decentralized. It allows anonymous communications through the mixnet. We have these knowledge proof that allows us to have this unlinkability between the payments and the usage of the network. Okay, let's build one big application on top, which is our flagship application, which is a VPN. And so like someone who's a rando could just like download the app. He would see something like really like normal. He would pay for it with his credit card, and he could use it as a normal VPN. But there's these few other options which are already there that he can use. He can switch to the mixnet if he wants. And also, he benefits from the zero-knowledge proof because we don't know when he's using his network. He doesn't need to give his name to us. He doesn't need to give his email address. he can just like spin off the VPN on its own if he wants. So yeah, what are the features like really in a VPN? We had to add few other features that people expect. So we have the two modes, which is like the fast mode and the mixed-net mode. So basically, the mixed-net mode is the mode that I showed you, and we have like added for people to make it easy to use a mode where we are using part of the infrastructure, but we remove the delay of the mixed-net, so it's fast. We added, so there's unlinkable payments, basically, that where indeed we don't know when you're using your system. And we added some features on, easy features for people to use. So split tunneling, you can switch on and off the VPN per application, or we have like tons of languages to make sure people can understand and have the application in their normal language. And the technologies you have there is pretty interesting because basically, so you have the mixed-net, you have like a network which is fully decentralized. You will see if you download the app, you will see all the exit points and the entry points, and all those servers are not managed by us, they are managed by our community. And we had to do a lot of work on adding censorship resistant. So the NIM mixed-net is about privacy. It's about building a generating noise machine that will protect you from any kind of like pattern recognition, right? So that's very good to hide the communication between two people, but it doesn't solve the issue of censorship resistant, where basically when you are in a country which is censoring internet, they will just cut you, they will just block your access to the servers of the network, for example. And this is what is happening in Russia or in China. And so we had to add these censorship-resistant mode to allow people to connect. So now the VPN, for example, is working pretty well in Russia. They were the only thing that was blocking really us in China, in Russia, was when they were shutting down internet completely. So they do this randomly now. It's getting it went a bit better because they went too far away and people were really complaining. But it works. And now we're trying to make sure so it works in China. China is a bit more complicated because they are the one who are building the biggest censorship technologies, and they are selling it to the Russians, they're selling it to the Pakistanis and some other countries. But we're getting there. It's a cat and mouse game. And we just added post-quantum cryptography. This is important to have because otherwise, if you don't do it at one point, it will kick you in the ass. And we still have some work to do forward secrecy, which is also an important thing because what you don't want, forward secrecy is something that will protect you from replay attacks. So let's say you have someone who's recording the entire network, and then he can actually replay the whole thing and replay it until he understands what happened. So maybe in the future there are some technologies that will allow you to break some of the things that we have today. So if you keep a record of the existing, then you can just like work on it all the time. This is exactly what is happening if you are using PGP or GPG on your phone or like as an email for your email communication. It is known that I think it's the NSA, who's actually like when they see an email which is PGP encrypted, they will just take a copy, and they know that because of the size of the key, because of the technology, they know that in 30, 40 years from here, they will be able to break them very easily. So they just keep a copy of it. So in order to like protect yourself from this, you need forward secrecy. This is something, for example, Signal has already implemented, and this is why in Signal, if you like lose your access and you rejoin a group, you don't have the history of the group because you have this forward secrecy that is happening all the time. So we really push like people to try to integrate the mixed-net with us. So we have like a lot of documentation, and if you're like a coder, I will really invite you to go to nim.com/docs. where especially we have designed libraries that can be integrated in any kind of application. So it's like Rust libraries, and also we're available on NPM. So you can really easily integrate the whole documentation in there. And I'm going to show you, there's one small example of a website where you can transfer files from one person to another through the mixnet that you can use within the browser. And you can already start using the mixnet to protect your data today with Litecoin, actually, if you are using the Edge wallet. I don't know, anyone who's using Edge wallet? Okay, so if you have Edge wallet, you can go in the privacy settings, and then you will see the list of all your networks, and you can go for Litecoin, and you can enable NIM. So what will it do? So inside the Edge application, you have a NIM client which is there. So if you enable it for your Litecoin, it will start when you are using your Litecoin wallet. And on the other side, the server of Edge actually also has a NIM client. And you will connect basically through the mixnet to the server of Edge. So it will be slower. For a transaction, it's not that, it's okay. The latency is right now about 1 second. So it seems huge. You're not going to do gaming with this, but sending a transaction is very fine. And what it does mean that like the ISP, your ISP, for example, will not see that you're connecting on a Litecoin RPC server, because when you are using Edge or using any wallet, the first thing you have to do, you have to connect to this RPC. And to connect, you need a domain name, which is usually RPC, like Electrum Service. Those have names which are recognizable. And then you have this communication with IP addresses that happens. So that means that like your ISP can see that you're using a wallet. And of course, the server on the other side can see exactly what is your IP address. You can use a VPN, you can use Tor, but we saw some of the attacks you're there. Here, in this case, the server from Edge doesn't have a clue where you are on the internet. That's the whole point. He doesn't know who you are. He only receives valid instruction through the RPC that he will answer. So what they did, how the integration was done with Edge, is that they used our toolkit, and they had a communication. We had a channel also with our DevRel. So if you guys have an application like a wallet or something that communicates between client server and that doesn't need like that doesn't need low latency communication, so sending transactions or updating some API, NIM is really adapted for that, and we can walk you through. Also, we are Litecoin friendly. We use BTC Pay server, and thanks to the work that they did, we were able to integrate Litecoin and Litecoin MWeb at a very early stage. And I know some of you used Litecoin MWeb already to purchase NIM, so that's great. And we're going to continue to support it because there's like regular people purchasing, so we're really happy. And so also, we're offering 1 month free for everyone who's at the summit. You can come to see me after the show. I can give you like a QR code which will give you 1 month free, and otherwise they will be at the Litecoin's Foundation table booth. There will be a pile, and if you go talk to those guys, you can get 1 month free over there too. Okay. I think that's it. I still have a bit of time for 1 or 2 questions, and happy to take them. Thank you. I think there's one question here, the first one.
Can blockchains like layer 1s or layer 2s, can they route transactions like decentralized application transactions through the NIM mixnet?
Yeah. So the question is like, can layer 1, layer 2 route transaction through the NIM network? So That's like a common misunderstanding, and that's glad for the question, because then, I mean, my presentation was really bad, I'm sorry. We're not talking about obfuscating transactions, we're talking about obfuscating the network layer. So what we're doing here is we're creating a mix. The mixnet is not a mixer, like, for example, Tornado Cash. That's completely different. In a mixer, you will send a transaction, and like the transaction will go out anonymized. Right? Here, we're talking about network transactions. So it's the actual internet connection that you're going to make between your phone and the server that you connect to. So in the case of like L2, L1, and L2, yes, of course they can use the NIM mixnet, but what they will do, it's basically the communication between the wallet and the servers, between maybe the nodes themselves, like when they are broadcasting, all these network layer elements, they can be routed on the network, on the mixnet. And the principle is the same. They are getting mixed, so you don't know who's sending what to who. But it's data, it's not the money itself. So for example, if you're using Bitcoin or Litecoin, the normal Litecoin, the transactions are still transparent. You can still see which wallet is sending to who. But companies like Chain Analysis, for example, they usually like to add metadata like IP address, timing, and all of this to enhance the data, and they are losing that part. Yeah, another question there. Yeah, okay. So he was asking, there's a NIM token, and what is the role of the NIM token? Yeah, I didn't went deep dive into this because we keep it as a side. The NIM token is used in the reputation system. So in order to access it's both the reputation system and the purchase system in the network. So if you, all these servers which are running for us, they are incentivized, and in order to that creates a reputation system in order to make sure that the most reputable ones are the ones which are running. So as a community, you have like the operators who are running the machines, but then the wider NIM community who has tokens, they can stake on those machines to give them reputation, right? And only if you have fully staked, then your node will be connected, has the higher chances to be delivering the thing. So that's the reputation system, and also like for the network itself, if you want to have access, the mixnet itself is free. We want to keep it for free for a long time for now, but the VPN part is you have to pay for it. And the payment is done in NIM token. So we create an obfuscation. We say, oh, you can pay with whatever you want. You can pay in credit card, in Litecoin. That's fine. But we will, behind the scene, basically the whole network is paid in NIM. So we will purchase NIM for you silently. And we will give it to the user. And if you really want to have like a full experience where you don't even talk to us, what you can do, you can take our applications, and you can actually have some NIM on the side, and you can pay yourself for the network without going through our servers and even without an account with us. So that's the use of the token. I think it's our last one, quickly, and then we're done.
How decentralized are the
Sorry?
How decentralized are the servers?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
How much decentralized are the NIM servers?
Oh, so how decentralized they are? I mean, there's a map. You can go on, I didn't show, there's I think here, one back, no, it doesn't work, doesn't matter. You go on nim.com/explorer, you have a map. We have roughly 700 servers, they're all around the world. The decentralization, so we run like few, like maybe 5 of them, just to have a hand on the network itself. So they are all outside of our reach. There is a very active community, and basically the biggest threat we have right now is like concentration on certain data centers, and I think the biggest one is like 20%. of the network is in one kind of like a hoster, but with different providers and different people running different nodes, but on the same provider. So yeah, so right now we are pretty happy about the decentralization. It could be better, but we're okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. And yeah.
Good job. So this is more optimism. We took a turn there. So we heard this morning that it was not able to be private, and then now we found that it is able to be private. So that's good. Yes. So very exciting times here. Now I have a fun story about our next moderator. We're going to have a panel of guests, and our moderator is a simple man with a simple plan, an ambassador to the Litecoin Foundation, John Kim. But don't come up just yet. I want to tell you a quick story about John Kim. Yesterday or 2 days ago when we first got here, we all had dinner together, and I was excited to get to talk to John Kim about Litecoin. And then I asked him one question about fitness and training and mental wellness. And then I just want to let you know, if you would like to have an intense 9-hour conversation about fitness and wellness, just mention that around John Kim, and then get locked in eye contact with him for the next 9 hours of your life while he shoots a fire hose of really good advice about it right into your face, whether you want to keep doing that conversation or not. That is one of the most fun times I've had. And actually, all of it was fantastic advice. And most of it was about this that I've been growing for the past few years. But anyway, also one other quick story. One of the guests on the panel is going to be Claudia, and she rode in an Uber with me on the way here with Loesch, and I said to her and Loesch in the back seat of the Uber from the front seat, "When did y'all meet?" And she said, "I didn't understand what you said," looked at Loesch, and then Loesch said, "He said, when did you meet?" And then she said, "Oh, a few years," and then she answered the question. I was like, "Loesch, you just said what I said. I don't understand." And I think the word y'all was what made her entire understanding of the English sentence not work right. Because I said, "When did y'all meet?" And Loesch said, "He said, when did you meet?" And so I think that was the difference. And I just thought that was worth sharing. So that was an exciting time for me. So let's welcome up John Kim, Ambassador, Simple Plan, Ambassador of Litecoin. Also, little known fact, John, as of last year, lived his entire life on the currency of Litecoin, right? And that's an accomplishment in and of itself. He's going to introduce to you all of his panel speakers. So welcome them up to the stage now. Again.
What's up, guys?
Thank you.
Make sure the shadows are good. Welcome. Does anyone actually know me from Twitter or anything? Yeah? Ah, I'm pretty famous. Yeah. So, when it comes to working out, okay? I'm kidding. We have a pretty good guest over here. Our talk is on building businesses catering to Litecoin community. Before I introduce them, I want to tell you an OG story. I was actually one of the first. I don't know if you guys knew this. 2017, I had an LED lighting shop, like a business, and I built a big L LED light channel, and I was selling it for, I think 1 Litecoin at the time. And the reason I built that, it changes colors, and you put it in your window. It was awesome. I sent one to Charlie so I can get his attention, because at the time, Charlie Lee was like, I know he's not that cool right now, but in 2017, Charlie Lee was the man, right? So I would just, DM him on Twitter and be like, "Hey, can I send you something?" And now he's one of my best friends, and just wanted to let you guys know that I started accepting Litecoin first, 2017. And then I left to push for adoption, and became a little bit known because of that. So we have Kyle, and we have Craig, and we have Claudia, and I just want each of them to introduce themselves.
Sure. Good after morning. And I am Kyle. I'm with the 84million.com and the 84 Million podcast, coming from Texas. Glad to be here.
Yep. My name's Craig. I run arttoy.org with the Litecoin trading cards, and I actually produced a lot of the the graphics and stuff for this event.
Ooh.
So my name is Claudia, and I run the official Litecoin shop, and I also do some Nexus development for business and stuff.
So I asked Claudia to come up here today, and I asked her, what do you do for the Litecoin shop? She said everything. So she is the CEO of Litecoin shop, Chief Everything Officer. And she also helps out with Nexus Wallet. So Kyle, can you tell them the first time we ever met real quick?
I can. I want to say it was, correct me, was it 2022 or 2023? But being in Texas, drove a few hours from where I am currently, and I met him at his apartment. He had a meetup with Clint Westwood and Litecoin Lisa, which are some of the OGs in the community. And this was when you were still doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So if anything, I was watching John with Funky and the other gentleman, I forget his name, Jason.
Ben Askren.
Ben Askren as well. So I'm still a member of the community. He met me as a member of the community. A few things have changed just with, I guess, willingness to do things within this environment. But yeah, that's how we met.
And the reason I ask is because at the time, he wasn't doing podcasts, he wasn't selling anything, he was just behind the scenes, Litecoin supporter. And then when I met him, after I met him, me and Ben Askren had a podcast called Funky Crypto Podcast. We went live every Tuesday. We had, the best guests, like Michael Saylor and everything. And then one day, he started his little 84 million podcast, and he started having Charlie and everybody on. So
we had you on too.
Yeah, so that was the best episode, by the way. Yeah. It will not do anything for your intellect, but it's fun, okay? But I kind of wanted to ask what made you want to come out and start a podcast and start a shop and sell merch? What was your main driver?
So the merch came first really slowly and sort of weirdly. Actually, the first thing I designed was a Liberty flag, and I only made 5 of them. But it was based, again, this is in the U.S. context, but it was a war flag, basically. But the L was the light L, and the B was a Bitcoin, as if Litecoin and Bitcoin are components to Liberty. So I made a few of those and some stickers and put them up on 84million.com, which at that time was just kind of FAQ, community-based information. This was before the podcast. But I just wanted to fill a void. I mean, we have amazing products with the Litecoin shop. I've been a purchaser for a long time. She could tell you that. My name's in her store. But there's not a lot out there. I mean, I don't want Zazzle, and I don't want Redbubble, and I don't want, poorly printed stuff. I think Litecoin deserves to look really good when you wear it. So that was sort of the motivation. So we've grown from there, but the interesting one was it started with that flag design, which you may have seen before. The cool thing is I get to see actual real Litecoiners wear it, like David Burkett and other coders, and Lotion go to proof of work wearing one of the designs that I made, which is pretty cool. So, but that's kind of where that started, yeah.
Okay. You have these cards. Can you explain? Because I'm not a card guy, but...
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so I created these Litecoin trading cards based off of kind of similar to the Pokemon, fad that's been going on lately. But, I've noticed that the Litecoin culture in general is pretty siloed, and so getting it out of the normal people that would collect Litecoin things or anything like that, and kind of into the hands of people that are just avid collectors in general. Was really my goal in all of this, and kind of introducing Litecoin to a new crowd and getting new people involved, which we've successfully done with with Pepe Coin. We've been kind of integrating different blockchains and different script related merge mined coins and communities, and so I've been producing these, and they've been selling really well. We've got a VIP group of about 25 people that have pretty much all the cards, and they get access to them like before everybody else does. And yeah, and they're pretty cool too. Like it's a physical collectible. It's super low quantities, and it's all handmade by me. So like I literally produce these things all by myself. I don't outsource anything, and then we've just been creating them with ordinals. And we also have a game coming out soon that's going to be on LitVM, so that's going to be pretty cool.
They're really cool cards.
So you help design all this?
Yeah, so I've been part of the Litecoin Foundation since about 2018. They had me do their first Litecoin Summit website, help design that. And then I just kind of started helping out, here and there where I could, and developed a lot of different graphics and websites for the foundation. And yeah, but everything that you see, like the banners on the walls, the windows and everything, the stairs, that was all stuff that I had thought about and produced. Yeah.
Bro, you got to give it up. This is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. I mean, I could have done it better, but they can't afford me, so. I just let my junior do all my work. But it really is the Van Gogh theme.
Yeah.
I love it. So Claudia,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to tell them how you started working for Litecoin. That's a cool story.
Yeah, so basically, my dad likes to invest in the USA market, several stocks. He got into crypto for the obvious advantage, like decentralization, privacy, and whatever. So he was actually buying Litecoin. One day he was looking through the websites and he found an advert from Lite Wallet that said that they needed volunteers. He told me, I was like 19 years old back then, so he told me, why don't you just apply for this? It could be an interesting experience. So I did it. I started volunteering for them for a few years. Then I started in like 2021. And in 2024, I went to the first event that was in Frankfurt, and then I met the rest of the foundation, and I ended up working in the shop too, and in Nexus now.
So you design everything on the Litecoin shop?
Yeah.
You literally do everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
currently, yes.
Just letting you know, if you order something, she's, fulfilling everything designed, so that's awesome. Isn't it cool that her dad was into crypto and told her to go work for a crypto company? So I thought that was a pretty cool story. So anything else that you do the podcast and you sell merch, what are some of difficulties that you faced trying to cater to just the Litecoin community, right? Because is it up and down with the market sentiment and the price, or what's hard about it?
We probably all can agree on that. Absolutely, but we do it anyway, right? So
Why?
I can speak for myself.
Why are you doing it?
Well, I believe in it, right? I believe Litecoin can be used as money. We accept Litecoin. We also take your paper dollars. Doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm a part of the Litecoin community. I'm a Litecoiner. I believe in the project. I believe that there aren't enough voices, despite the metrics that we can all read, being up and to the right. There's not a lot of vocal folks coming out and doing these things. At least that's the way I feel. I could be wrong. So I think it's just a commitment to the idea. And I just wanted to, like I said, it's evolving all the time. I had a conversation with David Burkett as a standalone interview, and then the podcast came out of that. I had actually wanted other people to, there were some folks doing spaces and different things like this. I was talking to them, why don't we have a long-form podcast? We need one. And nobody was really willing to do it, so I just did, and we're here now. So it's challenging. Sentiment does affect humans. I'm a human. But we come anyway. So you guys are legends for being here, by the way. It's not an easy time. I think we all know that. But I also agree that Litecoin is perpetual and it's going to outlive me. So hopefully David didn't throw that in the trash this morning with the quantum talk. But either way, I'm still highly optimistic and very much to be supporting Litecoin. Bitcoin has 1 billion advocates. They're everywhere. But who's talking about Litecoin? We need more people doing that. And so I'm just doing my part. So.
How about you? Do you face any challenges?
Yeah, so I mean, sentiment does matter. It is sometimes a little bit slower, you know, when we hit the bear markets and stuff, just because, you know, some people just have all of their, you know, assets inside of Litecoin or inside of cryptocurrency in general, and then once that all disappears, you know, they're forced to either, you know, have cash flow or sell their assets to, you know, to pay for things. And obviously, every business is going to be affected by that, you know, when we have, you know, slumps and stuff. But overall, I mean, I think that to overcome that, you know, a lot of the stuff that I produce, especially, is just like super limited. Like we'll have releases that are even, you know, from 3 to like maybe 30 cards. So like if you don't get it at that point, you're not going to get it because we don't even have anybody that's selling on the aftermarket yet. So literally every single person that buys, they hold it and they just you know, stay with it. So I mean, I guess it's the question of, would you rather pay, you know, $65 or whatever it is for one card right now, or would you rather pay like $500 for it later? You know, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what the cards are going to go for later. I can't guarantee anything like that, but you know, it's just a matter of supply and demand and stuff too. So, you know, you have opportunities and you got to take them when you see them.
So he said you buy it for 65 now. And it could be 500, but he's not saying that it will go to 500, but he said it's going to 500. Right?
We can work on a chart and a technical analysis of this.
That's low-key, like marketing genius right there.
No. So I mean, we've actually sold cards. Like, so this one specifically, this is like a God mode card, and I made a bunch of different God mode cards. They started out with my former pet, Margaret. You know, she had passed away, and I wanted to make something to kind of commemorate her. And then, so I made the God mode card for Margaret. And then we just came out with the God mode card for Lester and one for Pepe too. And so these cards are limited to 6. So there's only 6 of them. And they're $1,000 a piece, which is a lot of money for a single card.
But it could go to 10,000.
I'm not saying anything.
Throwing that out
I mean, we've had purchases, you know. So like, there's one guy that has literally every single one of my cards. He purchased. So we came out with 2, you know, the Lester and the Pepe. Purchased both of them. Another guy that's in LA, he purchased both of them too. So I mean, they're not. It's not like they're not selling, you know. So, and I should say too that, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there is a wallet on the back, and that comes with like it's going to come with like an ordinal that's going to be on Litecoin too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So Claudia, what sells the most on the Litecoin shop?
Basically, his cards.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. They are very, very popular.
Really?
Yeah.
How much did he pay you to say that? Because we didn't agree that.
Nothing. It's just the truth.
Yeah, this wasn't rehearsed, actually.
I didn't get any money. I think your car's going to go to 10,000. I mean.
Maybe you can get a card there.
So Kyle, share with us like one of your best stories while interviewing like all the You basically interviewed all the Litecoiners, even like that OG John Kim and that,
We did
that
get
guy
the
over
OG
there,
John
Charlie.
Kim. Charlie was great, episode number 13, and I'd love to have him back on the show in the future. Yeah, I get to talk to a lot of people, so as much as it's challenging, it's also really rewarding. I'm not sure if I'm an introvert or an extrovert, but it works either way. A lot of the cool stuff is off air, to be honest. And I don't have record on. Sometimes I'm like, I should just let this thing roll the whole conversation, then trim it, just for me. But I've had a lot of really good discussions. I'm going to get at launch with David Burkett. We've had Charlie. We've had you. We've had treasury companies. We've had Stephen McClurg of Canary Capital. We've had this gentleman right here with LitVM, which everybody's very excited about the work they're doing. And it keeps going, so I'm still willing to keep it up. But I haven't had Michael Saylor on to talk about Litecoin. But you have, and he said, with someone like John, it will do quite well. Yeah. So
he did. I made him say Litecoin. I forced him to say Litecoin, didn't I? So, is there, Claudia, what is your thoughts on Litecoin now and what the future may be?
So basically, the reason why I like Litecoin is because it provides like a different. It's like a different way of payment. That's one reason. But for me, there is one more important reason. Like we currently rely mostly in like traditional banks. But what if they become less secure, less trustworthy? Because there are like bad things involved in all that area, and I believe that Litecoin is like a much more safe option if something ever happens, something bad in general. I think it's the only thing that could maybe survive the best cryptocurrencies, Litecoin, one of them, of course.
Okay.
That's like my main point.
How old are you, by the way?
24.
24. We got some young people. Man, I'm old.
I'm getting close.
What year were you born? What year were you born?
What I really want?
What year were you born?
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Wow. Anybody born in the 2000s? Man, I'm not gonna tell you my age, but man, I look good for my age. I'm just telling you right now. Oh yeah. Alan hates it when I unbutton my shirt. Alan always tells me, John, you really need to button it up, so I unbuttoned one more just for you. Is anybody else interested or thinking of building a business around Litecoin here in the crowd? No? You don't like to lose money? What's going on? I'm really excited about LitVM.
Yes.
I think that's the most exciting thing that's coming. It makes me kind of like, got the juices flowing. It's like, oh, this new stuff that's coming out. I can't wait to see and hear what he has to say. And he's a good-looking guy. He looks like he works out. If you work out, you can be friends with me, okay? And about Marty, he's like 8 months pregnant. So when we were talking, I could not give him advice because when we were walking, he was kind of waddling. So I told him, Marty, you got to stop the waddling. Let me tell you how. So that was the story behind that. So for you, your shop is actually out there.
Yep.
And you accept Litecoin and cash?
Cash, whatever, yeah.
Okay.
We can do credit too, and pretty much anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone, if you're on Twitter or X, right? 84 million podcast. Oh, you are good, ma'am. You're going straight to it to subscribe. So subscribe to 84 million. Support what he's doing. I think it's very important, right? Because that's true. We don't have too many voices in Litecoin right now. I used to have a big voice until they hired that one guy on X, and he throttled everyone on X right now, right? Does anyone feel their X account got throttled lately after the new guy came in? Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, right? Yeah, and he's the advisor of Solana, so shady, okay, whatever.
We need to get you on there running the algorithm, John.
I know. We'd all have
make
a
that
meeting.
happen.
So, thank you very much. I want each panel guest to say one last thing before we end it. Claudia, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. We are working in making the Litecoin shop even better. We are redesigning the whole theme, the way it looks, the products, and the most important thing is that we want to add gift cards to it. These gift cards are like the ones from Nexus, but we just want to add them also to this shop to make the option to buy them much more easy. But it's going to be in both of the places.
That's great.
I would just say Litecoin's been like a huge part of my life, and a huge opportunity. So I'd like to thank everybody from the foundation, for giving me opportunities, and I'm really excited for what's to come for sure. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @BitsToys, and my shop is arttoy.org.
And his cards are really, really cool. If you haven't seen one, please go pick one up and experience it for yourself. I've been a fan since the beginning. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more, John. He was the first art toy creator for Litecoin in Nashville in 2024, and that was also paired with an ordinal. So I don't know if those are around anymore, but
Yeah, we have actually 2 of them at the booth. But yeah, there were only 84 of those made, and yeah, it was a pretty good seller too.
he's a creative and an artist.
Yeah.
I have a light version of the 84 million shop out there, very small pop-up, but glad to bring a few things over here. And I'd be glad to talk to you out there if you ever want to come say hi. And of course, check out the podcast on 84million.com.
Well, thank you. Seriously, guys, I know it's really difficult to attend conferences when the market and the price action is, kind of low. So I really appreciate every single one of you for coming out and sharing your money and your time with us. Just know that you're really appreciated and you're the real deals, right? So when everything's great, people are everywhere, but when times like this, you guys come out and actually support us, it means very much to all of us. So I appreciate you, and I thank you, everyone on the panel.
For sure.
And we are not taking questions, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, Lester. So technically, that was developed by Greg and Dogecoin. They were thinking that that Litecoin needed a mascot, and so on Twitter the one day, it was just a random tweet, and Greg from Twitter, he ended up making this really low effort, mascot, and then I've kind of like taken it and ran with it, right? So like we've done different versions of him, and I've obviously it's changed a lot, like on the banner or the cards or anything like that, and we've kind of incorporated different personalities into him and stuff. So he was the original creator, but we've kind of modified him, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we will.
All right. Thank you.
It's more realistically like early November, John. It's early November, barring any complications. So that's too funny for the front row. I'm sorry. This is offensive that you're laughing at that so much. I'd like to welcome the 4,500 or more people that are joining us live on Twitter, X right now. I don't know if y'all realize that or not, but we have about 4,500 people, give or take. When John got up here, it went down to like 3,300. But anyway, also last year in Vegas, they gave away some of these cards, and some of them had like hundreds of printed, and then some had the limited printed in your swag bag. Last year we were giving these, and I actually got one of these blue cards in my swag bag that only 84 were made, and this is number 74, and then I had Charlie sign it. And so back there during their presentation, I started thinking of the actual retail value of this would be the 36 current Litecoin, because that's the number that I'm down since last year's deposit in total dollars. So whoever wants to buy an autographed Charlie Las Vegas 2025 collectible card, it could go up to, you said 10,000, would they say, John? I don't know exactly, but I feel like that's the fair market value of this. And also, I think Charlie signed the case, so you could just put whatever card in the case you wanted, and then that would be an autographed Charlie Litecoin at that point. You could put a more valuable one in there. So I'll just sell the case for the 36 Litecoin if you want. Thanks, Loesch. I appreciate that. Also, real quickly, after the next group is lunch. We're all on our own for lunch, but I was told that the audio on the Twitter during the first 15 minutes didn't come through. So after lunch, I'm going to tell the same jokes that I told at the beginning, and then I need y'all to laugh really loud the way you did at the beginning, where it was just raucous, and y'all were like, this guy's amazing, and it was so much laughter, it was uncomfortable. Remember that at 9:05 this morning? when it sounded like a little bit of a wind on the prairies in here. We need to recreate that for the people who've tuned on Twitter. So look forward to that. They call that in the industry a tease. So that'll be what we have after lunch when it comes back from there. But now we're going to get to hear from my guy. This is my favorite, my personal favorite. They say don't show favoritism, but David Schwartz is the guy who hired me 2 years ago to come to the first one because the guy they had hired backed out at the last second. And I was the replacement they could afford, and that's how that works. And now I've been doing this for 3 years. But he's my favorite. We're going to have a fireside chat between David and Rick Thomas from OnRamper. And David is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Litecoin Foundation. He was the key in helping to close deals with BitPay, UFC, Miami Dolphins, etc. David is also a 20-year military veteran, having served in both the U.S. Army and Air Force. And David will tell you more about Rick, so let's welcome them up here. And after this, we'll go to lunch.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right, can you hear me? Good? All right, awesome. Rick?
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I will tell you, I'm 55 years old, and I'm more fit than John. And he recognized that and asked to be friends with me, and I told him no. So, but this guy here, Rick Thomas, he's part of OnRamper, and if any of you have ever used Nexus, or probably a lot of the apps that are out there that have any kind of on and off ramping, you're probably using OnRamper for that, right? So I'm going to let Rick introduce himself and give a little bit more information on OnRamper, and then we'll start getting into some of the slides and details.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you all. Rick Thomas, I'm co-CEO of OnRamper as of the 1st of this month. I've been with OnRamper since 2021, end of 2021. And ever since, I've been building the whole go-to-market function. I co-CEO together with Moritz De Wiener. He focuses more on all the internal aspects, operation, finance, etc. I do everything external, partnerships, go-to-market, marketing, etc. I was actually also in Vegas. I also have one of those cards. And I know my colleague Riggs in the back there also has one of those cards. So thank you for the invite. For the ones that do not know, OnRamper is an aggregator of fiat to crypto on-ramps. So in at least this fireside chat, we'll focus a bit more on the retail end of Litecoin, because we mainly serve retail-focused applications, such as any of these wallets, but also any other dApp.
All right, you can go to
the next slide. I don't have a...
Oh. Oh, yeah, where is that, by the way?
There?
Oh, there we go. It tells you how prepared I am.
Thank
All right,
you,
here we
David.
go. This is the next one here. Is that it? Here we go.
Yeah, let's move on.
Got to be smarter than the
yeah
thing here. All right. So one of the things we'd like to know about technically would be sort of the integration part of what you guys do. You've been around for how long now?
Company was founded 2018. I've been around since 2021.
And Litecoin has been a part of that since the beginning, correct?
The very beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So give us a little bit more about your integration and some of the things that you do within OnRamper itself, and then we can get more into maybe some numbers on Litecoin specifically.
Absolutely.
You know, where you probably see the most on-ramping and so on and so forth.
Yeah. A bit of the history on OnRamper. Technically, our founders were building an embeddable wallet on, let's not name it, the wrong blockchain. And they figured out that user onboarding, retail user onboarding, was hard already back in 2016, 2017. People either had to go to a SEX to onboard, or there was one on-ramp that claimed to do everything. We figured out the hard way that there is not a single on-ramp in the world that can do user onboarding everywhere. When I joined, OnRamper had 3 on-ramps integrated. One is also sponsoring here, MoonPay, and then we had another couple ones which actually don't even exist anymore. So what we built is a single integration layer, a single API or a single widget that currently has over 30 different on-ramps. Our main focus in 2022, 2023 was really figuring out, apart from the United States, which still drives a lot of the volume, and Europe, how can you onboard users in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, like all the hard-to-reach regions where credit cards either don't exist or don't work at all. So that's what we've done, and we've seen that it's been super complex. So if you can just click to the next slide. This is what most of these apps are looking at. Everyone building in Web3, building a retail application, will start with a MoonPay, just to name one. They'll do the integration and they'll figure out that MoonPay actually works really well in the United States and Europe, but they will not work in Latin America or Southeast Asia. So they add another one and another one and another one, and it becomes very complex, very cost heavy to do all this. If you look at this overview here, there's a lot of different on-ramps, all serving a different type of users, some obviously with an overlap, but we have tried to really streamline this into one single integration, which is if you click again, there you go. All these different on-ramps in a single API. Now, this is the very first part. How can we make sure that from 52 weeks, you bring it down to, if you use the widget, hours, if you do an API integration, want to control your front end a bit longer, how do you really bring it down to a simple integration, but also make it work? Now, we've been around for many years. We work with most of the non-custodial wallets and other applications out there. We've built a dynamic transaction routing engine. It's a long word. Basically, what it does is it looks at where is the user located, what are they trying to buy, and what is then the optimal route. Okay. So this routing engine really checks best available payment method combined with best converting on-ramp. And then we take into account roughly 70 different factors to make that a smooth journey for the end user.
You know, it's interesting. I've been doing this now for, about 8 years, and I only recognize about half of those up there. That tells you how deep you guys are into this.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'd like to know then, based off of this, and you mentioned different geographic areas, what would be like, let's go to the numbers for Litecoin specifically, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're all here for, is to kind of learn more about where you participate within the Litecoin community and the services that we're using, right? So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about that then?
Yeah. Apart from, and I know Loshan is here somewhere, apart from the fact that we are actually live in your own wallet, we work with any wallet, and on-ramper is fully agnostic. So we don't care which on-ramp takes the volume. We don't really care what asset is being bought. Litecoin has been there since at least our inception. You guys have been around for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. And to date, if we exclude all the different stable coins that we do support, Litecoin still holds the number 4 spot. So there is actually a lot of Litecoin volume concentrated. Some of the major wallets, like Trust Wallet, for example, still does a lot of Litecoin volume, but we see volume across over 50 different wallets in our ecosystem. And the United States still drives the majority. So you really see the United States, parts of Europe, but technically Litecoin can be bought through on-ramper anywhere in the world.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I'm thinking about, so there's certain ones that everybody kind of just continues to voice about, which would be like the BitPays, the CoinGates, and some of these others who are payment processors. But when it comes to some of these apps or services that even like I wasn't necessarily used to seeing, to be third or fourth within all the numbers of probably the tokens and coins that you're using is actually, that's nothing to sneeze at, right? If you think about it, because it's usually Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and stables, right? Yeah. And so if you have Litecoin actually competing many times on these apps and services with stable coins, which is what everybody is saying is going to be the preferred method for payments and whatever else, Litecoin's neck and neck with that even to this day still. Do you see that pretty much within your...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the last point on this slide, 19 out of 26 on-ramps, I think that's an interesting one. You already mentioned you don't know all of these on-ramps. There are many more out there. So we do heavy due diligence on all of these on-ramps to check whether they can actually do what they claim to do. And then you've got the OG ramps, Banksa, Stripe, MoonPay, etc. Yeah. You also have exchange-derived on-ramps. Coinbase has its own on-ramp, Kraken has its own on-ramp, etc. Yep. They will all support Litecoin, obviously. And there's a few on-ramps that we have that only focus on stablecoins. You won't see them supporting Litecoin, but I was chatting to one of you guys yesterday, and if there's still a gap that we can identify, OnRamper knows all of these guys, so we can still help out. But the biggest ones will for sure.
All right, so here's the partnership part of me coming out. So 19 out of 26, that means there's 7 we got to work on, right? We got to figure out how to...
We need to figure out. Well,
make that
some you'll need
26
to
out of
convince.
26, yeah.
Like you have a few. Funbank only serves Africa. They only do stablecoins.
Yeah.
You've got Sardine, technically an AML and risk company, but they also have an on-ramp, only do stablecoins. So we'll need to convince a few, and then there might still be some gaps. So let's for sure discuss that.
Yeah, give me some coffee with them. I'll change their mind.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the next one then. So this is the regional part, right? This is the country specific?
Correct.
Okay. U.S. is in the lead again. 46%.
46%.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about that this morning too. It's, we want to start getting that out in some of these other areas. You know, I see Germany down there. Can you kind of elaborate on how that kind of came to be, at least at this point anyway?
Yeah. So 2 things. 1, retail users and crypto adoption. Some of our biggest clients, Exodus Wallet, Trust Wallet, Coinbase Wallet, etc., just have a massive user base in the United States. But we see this not only for Litecoin, but across any of the different tokens that we or our clients support. United States is just always the biggest. If you look at the rest, Canada, Australia, Germany, and there's a few more European countries, and after that you'll also find the Philippines or Indonesia. But the majority and the biggest volumes are still driven by the US. That being said, this is looking at the not transaction count, but the volume number. People in the US, people in the Western worlds actually also just have a larger average amount that they purchase in one go. People in India, for example, might not have $200, $300, $400, which is roughly the average that we see to purchase in one single transaction.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was going to ask if some of that had to do with regulatory stuff too, but it sounds to me like it's more other issues or different things that are coming into play.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that kind of brings us up to where we are currently, but like any good service or company, I'm sure you're going through some transitions into things in the future that either are coming soon or you guys are working on. Like, can you elaborate on any of that without, maybe revealing too much?
Yeah. Well, right now, the first thing in Europe, at least, I'm from Rotterdam, so I'm actually quite close by, is MiCA. MiCA is coming into effect. So step number 1 before the end of this month is that we will have to discontinue some of the on-ramps in Europe because they're simply not MiCA compliant. I think currently, and I need to have an eye at rigs there, but there's about 8 on-ramps out of the full 26 that we have live that are MiCA licensed. So we're just making sure that we are fully compliant and that we only service the on-ramps that are allowed to be out there. In the next stage, we actually see that the whole on-ramp space, or actually user on and offboarding space, is completely evolving. Where 2-3 years ago when I joined, you either went to a centralized exchange or you used a third-party on-ramp to onboard. Offboarding was even less heard of, but I mean, I still don't really do that. Right now we see more demand for headless flows. So third-party on-ramping, all of these companies, at least the ones we work with, are fully regulated financial entities.
Okay.
KYC is a part of the journey. No one really likes KYC, but unfortunately, if you're a financially regulated company, you'll have to. This is a threshold that we have to overcome. Below that, you'll find that people are actually looking for new ways to go on-chain and also use the money on-chain or go off-chain again. So we've actually started looking at virtual bank accounts. We started looking at card programs. And to tie that all together, we are now introducing a KYC sharing layer, or our own identity layer, which allows end users to only KYC once, directly with OnRamper. And from there, we'll orchestrate it either to an on-ramp or a card program or virtual accounts.
Okay.
And the push there is to make it much more native. Right now, open any application, whether it's a widget integration or an API integration, you'll see that you're interacting with, again, a Banksa or Topper. You're being redirected to the on-ramp. There's now headless flows coming out, which is just natively loading Apple Pay directly onto your phone. And there's also other options that offer AcePay in Mexico or Pix in Brazil or UPI in India. So our end goal really is to keep making sure that the user journey is as smooth and as easy as possible. And the first thing to tackle there really is identity.
You perked my ears with the card. The card part of it.
Card.
I don't know if you knew this, but we used to have a debit card, Litecoin debit card, that was very popular. I used it a lot, and I know a lot of other people did too. So I think that would be something interesting if there's an opportunity to resurrect that type of a card. I know there's cards similar to that out there, but it was sort of like a, what's the right term, where basically it's a white label, right?
Yeah.
And we were able to have it specifically for Litecoin. Now, granted, it had, I think, probably about 8 different cryptos on there, but they would all be converted into Litecoin as they hit the card, and they stayed Litecoin until the point of purchase.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to talk about that at some point, too.
We should. We're agnostic. More than happy to provide.
That would be great. Awesome. All right, so let's get to the last, second to last one here. We got how you see the future.
This is what we were.
Right?
This is what we were just discussing.
Yeah. So you can see it here on the screen how you got that broken down in the different areas. Anything else you'd want to expound on that? Or?
A lot of this on the left-hand side, it's already within our network. So all these on-ramps we already know and have. Headless we're actually rolling out as we speak, starting with Coinbase and Paybase, but now we're looking to integrate or enable the headless flows for MoonPay, Mercurio, and a few others. Card programs and virtual accounts are new to our aggregator, not new to our network. So Striga, Wirex is actually a client of ours, also with their own wallet. Monavate is now owned by Exodus, so it's a pretty small world. And then virtual accounts, Iron is a MoonPay company, Bridge is a Stripe company. So the network is already there. The big, hairy, audacious goal is to make sure that we actually have all this in this year. And I'm happy that none of my engineers are here because they'll hate me, but
Over-promising, under-deliver, right?
Exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know MoonPay's really made a move forward in a lot of different areas, so it's got to be quite a boon for you to be working with them so closely and getting a lot of stuff done. And
they do have a lot of smart people.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Awesome. Well, I don't know if you feel like taking any questions from the crowd or anything, but anybody have any? Yes, Aztec.
Yeah, I know.
So to preface, the question again was, will there be the ability to on-ramp without KFC? KFC? KYC. I'm hungry. It's almost lunch, people.
I can get you KFC if you want.
Do they have KFC in Amsterdam? This is the more critical question. Okay.
Yes.
We're good.
There already is. So there's a few on-ramps that have what is considered low KYC or no KYC. The headless Apple Pay flow that I just spoke about, without us privacy-centric people noticing, Apple already has a lot of your information. If you have your card tied to your Apple Pay, a lot of that information can be shared with the on-ramp. So up to specific thresholds, whether that's $250, $500, or $1,000, it depends a bit on the on-ramp. But there are on-ramps that offer no or low KYC flows, both in the US and in Europe. In Europe, personally, I'm afraid that this might change a bit under MiCA. And ultimately, the real way of removing KYC as a whole is to actually convince banks that crypto is no longer a risky asset. So this becomes much too technical, but all these on-ramps use an MCC code, a code that is used for the acquirer, and that MCC code is still classified as a high-risk code, which is why KYC is involved every single time. So yeah, it's a long answer. The flows are available. Stripe allows it, MoonPay allows it, Mercurio allows it. There's a few. But the moment you hit the threshold, or when these risk engines that they run, AML, risk, whatever, don't really like you or don't like what they're seeing out of the Apple Pay information, for example, they'll still invoke KYC. Does that answer the question? Awesome.
Anybody else? Any other questions? I do have one. So you were talking about MiCA earlier, and it's affecting some of the services that are tied to you. Do you feel like maybe, obviously in the EU specifically, so Litecoin is MiCA compliant, right? And that's why it's been able to be added into a lot of the banking apps that are now doing trading for crypto and others. Do you feel like they could potentially do something similar to even the tokens and coins that you have on your, so that that ends up thinning out what you're able to offer as well?
Yeah, they're already doing this.
Yeah.
So there's a few. Apart from wallets and dApps, we also work with a lot of ecosystems like yourselves. There's a few that are already undergoing the requirements for legal opinions or other things like a MiCA white paper. I know you guys have one.
Yeah.
And they're not there yet. So there's a high chance that we'll have to delist it. And to talk about stablecoins, USDT is just gone.
Yeah.
So there's no USDT on-ramping at all in Europe.
Yeah,
Even though there is a few on-ramps that will allow it, but because it's not legal, we cannot do it.
And what was the time frame again? 2028 or 27 or what?
The grace period for MiCA, for on-ramping at least, ends at the end of this month. So on the 1st of July, everything will come into effect and yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I thought we had a little more time, but.
Wish.
Right. Yeah, you wish. Right. Yeah. Great. Yes.
On the amount. Correct. And that's either a monthly amount or a lifetime amount. So some of these on-ramps will allow you to buy $250 worth of crypto once a month. Others will just keep on stacking it, and the moment you hit 500 or 1,000, they'll still push KYC. Yeah.
So the question was if there was low or no, it's okay, low or no KYC for this, that would there be any barriers to that? And basically the answer was they could enforce a minimum of either a lifetime minimum or a monthly minimum or something else.
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. All right, anybody else? Great. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Rick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Thank you.
Go get some KFC, people. Yeah. So now we're on lunch break until 1400 hours, and I'll hustle back here with high energy and be ready to laugh for the 5,000 or so people on Twitter. Thank you, thank you. Thank y'all up there. I appreciate everybody. Oh, no, you're too kind. Thank you for the standing ovation. The standing ovation Twitter, just making sure Twitter knows of the standing ovation I'm getting now from the tens and tens of people here live.